Welcome to everyone who won their fantasy championships and to those who started Justin Jefferson.
Too soon.
That is too soon.
Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? I mean, some people won, some people didn't, but, we have to all commiserate together. Some of us were big winners. Others of us, didn't win, but we're here to help you feel better about losing. It's being a loser is difficult, but we're going to help you get through it. Get excited for the off season. Excited because there are so many things that we have to get excited for. There's going to be a lot of off-season movement. There's a lot of things, a lot of storylines going on between Derek Carr. I did a video this week on Derek Carr.
The Colts.
Yeah, well, could be, or the Jets. But there was a video on Derek Carr. I did that this week. So that's something that we'll, get to talk about. The rookie class, a lot of exciting players, because we should be very thankful that Kayshon Boutte went to that sex party, because otherwise he wouldn't be in the 2023 NFL draft. But because he did, now he's going to go into the 2023 NFL draft. So you should be very thankful for that. What else is there? A lot of exciting things coming up. Dynasty season, free agency. There's a lot of free agents across the board. But yeah, let's see.
I do want to say a lot of seasons aren't over yet. You have 2 first-round picks still going tonight. You have Joe Burrow. You have Josh Allen. You have potentially a game that's going to shoot out and turn a lot of leagues around. So, it's not over quite yet.
Tonight's going to be crazy.
It's not over, but, for a lot of people, it is over.
It is over for a lot of people, but there's a lot of high-value players tonight. Usually more than we've probably seen in a prime time.
I have a feeling, I don't know, something's telling me that Gabe Davis is going to have one of his big games tonight.
Oh, I'm sure he will.
Something's going to
will. And then he'll be a second-round startup pick next year.
Oh, yep, exactly.
He's
going to do it this year, guys. Tonight, guys. I'm telling you, I think a big game's coming for Gabe Davis.
The people just want to make Gabe Davis things so bad.
No, I hate Gabe Davis. Oh my goodness!
Who are these people?
No, I know.
Who are these people?
Are you kidding me? You're telling me there's not people that
there's so many Gabe Davis.
Absolutely.
Do most of them live in Buffalo? I didn't think Buffalo was a very big city, but apparently it is.
They are pretty strong. As a fan base.
But the problem is, I also love Dawson Knox tonight.
Well,
I don't know.
It is what it is. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm being thanked personally. Well, I love that. That's my favorite thing. When anyone thanks me personally, I really believe that everyone should just thank me for everything, because of me, we. I'm kidding. I'm well, actually not really. What did I do here? What am I being thanked for? Acquire Fields. That was good. That one probably worked out for you. Acquiring Lamb. Oh, that one was good. Yeah, I agree. I agree with your praise. I would praise me for that too. Oh, even better. You're giving me credit for your title. Now, as much as I appreciate that and the shout out to my Patreon, you had to click the buttons. I didn't click them for you. Although if you're, to anyone watching the video, if you're willing to pay me like a lot more money, I will go in and click the buttons for you. Just so you know. That service is available. I don't put it out publicly, but my Venmo's on my Twitter. Send me a secret $200 Venmo private, and I'll click those buttons for you. I don't care. For all the criticism I got about being all about the money, I low key. I mean, I do appreciate when people give me money. So you can get better service for more money. It's like a bar or a strip club or wherever. I don't know. Do you guys go to the? No. Never mind.
No, I don't think that happens.
I haven't been to a strip club in God. I'm not sure if I've ever gone.
That's never gonna happen for me.
To you?
That's never gonna happen for me. I'm never gonna.
Yeah, I might have said something similar at your age.
It's not gonna happen.
Then you get old. No, I got to give credit. I didn't. Credit. I mean, I guess this is a news story. Anyone could talk about it. I heard it on the Ray G Wake Up podcast. I actually recommend people should listen to that one. It's good. He knows a lot more about rookies than I do. Let me tell you. But he said something about this party And I was like, well, okay, that sounds interesting. Let me Google it. Well, it is interesting.
You got
It
the
is
Snapchat
interesting.
story thing?
Oh, there's more? There's more to it than that.
No,
There's
no,
more.
no. The thing describing it with the Snapchat.
What? I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen that.
It was like it was basically the accusations of what happened.
Well, what happened? I don't know. What happened?
I have to pull it up, but it's like it was like a whole big list of what happened.
Oh, there's
but
more? Oh, that's maybe not so good then.
I've actually barely heard
I
this
want
so
to know
it's
how if this
pretty
affects
new.
his
It broke
draft.
today. This is recent.
Yeah, I barely heard this.
Do you
I was
guys think
kinda
this
expecting it.
affects his draft capital at all?
Well, he's in the draft, so he can be drafted now.
Yeah, well, you think this affects?
I don't know.
Like,
I mean,
like the
look,
pre-draft stories. You know what I mean?
I will tell you that for me, we know that the NFL has a lot of issues with disciplining anything, but
Yeah, they don't care.
they don't care. But based on the way the CBA is written, you really can't do anything. There's nothing they can do for something that happened. You're not allowed to suspend or punish someone for something they did before they entered the players union, which is being drafted.
The Snapchat just says it was just the tip of the iceberg because it was like staff as well as Uche. So
Yeah, I think this is more of a conflict of interest problem rather than, well, it is. I mean, what do you think? I mean, how does that sound, right? The college staff is staffing a sex party for college students. How does that sound to you? Does that sound like a good thing or a bad thing? That sounds bad, but that's probably not going to affect his draft stock. It doesn't matter. It might have made him ineligible to play. So that's a lot of why people are saying he's entering the draft. So he's going to be dismissed from the program or ineligible to play. That's one thing, but I don't know. I don't think this is going to really change anything. Plus, also, there've been plenty of players because, like I said, the NFL policy really prevents them from having any sort of discipline for anything anyone does before they enter the NFL. It's really not possible. So there's not going to be any discipline for this. So there's nothing they can do. So I would assume he's going to be drafted. I mean, obviously his draft stock has kind of gone down. He was a surefire first round pick when the year started. I don't think that's the case anymore.
he was like top 15.
Yeah, he was going to be top half of the first rounder.
I think
nowadays
second, but still.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still going to be a day 2 pick. I don't think he's going to sneak into round 1 anymore.
Second round for a wide receiver is still.
It does make the class a lot stronger though, because he's a difference making player that you might be able to get in the late first or early second. And
I think
Yes.
I think that's where his draft or his projected rookie stock is right now, late first.
Yeah,
I'd say around 1.9, 1.10 if he gets that day 2 capital. So
I'm not sure I agree with this. It's hard to predict what someone's expected ADP value is going to be. I have no idea.
we won't know until they fall on the teams,
Yeah.
and the only one that we can project right now is probably Bijan and whatever quarterback goes 101 to Houston. Well, probably Houston. The Tank Bulls this weekend. I think they beat the Colts and the Bears get the number one pick. So.
I want everyone to wish Josh feeling better.
Yeah.
Please.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But all right, so we're gonna be here throughout the off season at the same time. We'll discuss. We'll have some plans on this show. We're gonna talk about. We have some dynasty buys on the show sheet, but this one we're still gonna talk a little bit more about what happened in week 17. Kind of transition ourselves. I was planning on taking a break from the show myself. To be honest with you, I don't feel super washed. I feel pretty good. So that may not be necessary.
He's feeling like Jared Stidham out here. Ready to roll.
Jared Stid him, right?
Yep, Jared Stid him.
Some
of those throws were insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy how Brock Purdy and Jared Stidham are probably the two.
You know what? I was right, though. I'll take a victory lap.
league.
I was right. I said that Jared Stidham was better than Cam Newton in 2020. I was right. I take all the credit for his current success. Without my support, he wouldn't be succeeding now. It's my important opinion. Very important.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Okay, so if you're here, make sure to leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. There's going to be more of that short notice content, especially as we get off-season news. During the off-season, Problem is during the season, if I don't get the video up like that day, it's not worth it. Like it's not worth it. If I don't, the video needs to go up that day. Otherwise, the news cycle's already moved on. We're already moving on from that. In the offseason, that's not really the case. If the video is a day or two later, it's still worth doing. It's still worth doing, even if it's not immediate. So you're going to see more of that because there's a larger window to get that time, to get that content out. So you're going to see more of that. It's mostly going to be me by myself. Occasionally, there'll be some other people on that, but the whole thing is it's last minute, so it's hard to get co-hosts last minute, especially for news we don't know is going to happen. So yeah, you'll see some of that.
Hey, when Devonta Adams gets traded this offseason, I'll be there.
Well, you just have to know when that's going to happen and, predict it ahead of time. Predict it ahead of time.
You could film your Derek Carr to the Colts video right now.
Well, he's not. Well, I don't know. I don't think he's going to go to the Colts.
I think he is.
Oh, I think he's going to go to the Jets. I think the
Jets are the most likely.
The Jets are top of the list.
The Colts it just feels like a Colts move, the moves they've been making.
I know, but the Colts have already done that so many times.
Yeah, they've done it like 5 times in a row. I feel like they want to go
what's
smart.
Oh, here. I do have a big announcement. Big announcement. This is a big announcement. The Titans will start quarterback Josh Dobbs in their winner go home game next week. Not Malik Bust. They won't start him.
Remember Malik Willis 102?
Yeah, I don't think I would even take Malik Willis at the 402 this year. He is. Oh, I mean, he's finished. He's dead to me.
Yeah, this is probably it.
Yeah, if they're not putting him in with their season on the line, he's done.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I'm not sure I would say cut Malik Willis. I mean, in a
You're very
Superflex,
close. Give it an offseason.
In a 1 QB, he can go. I'm not waiting for Malik Willis to maybe get in the starting lineup in 2 years in a 1 QB. There are better uses of that route. So in a 1 QB, he can go. But like Malik, based on the fact that they're not going to start him in their win or go home game, for me, he's sitting at right now. He's sitting at quarterback 31, which is probably still too high.
It seems too high.
It seems too high, but then you actually look at it and it
gets gross really quick.
The guys behind him are like Sam Darnold, Gardner Minshew, Baker Mayfield, and Gardner Minshew look like crap.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I watched the whole game.
He looked so bad.
He looked terrible.
Yeah, it was not good. It was not so good.
So does that improve the rookie quarterback class this offseason? Because we talked about how Gardner Minshew might be getting a starting job because he's a free agent. So maybe this improves the rookie stock a little bit. Gardner Minshew's thinking. I don't know. It feels like a reach a little bit, but I just want.
No, I don't think so. I think at the end of the day, if you look at it, things, and I think the quarterback situation in Super, because most people play Superflex. I think that's one of the most important things to talk about going into the offseason. I think Daniel Jones, Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford has said he's coming back. I mean, these are players. Aaron Rodgers with his play over the last 4 weeks. I think these are players who are going to be their guy next year. I mean, those guys are not going anywhere. Daniel Jones is going to be re-signed. So I think, the starting jobs are starting to close a little bit. I mean, Derek Carr, we know Derek Carr. Mac Jones has also probably done enough to retain that starting job. Probably.
Yeah.
Likely, yeah.
Probably
start next year.
Even if they trade even if they sign Tom Brady, Mac Jones will be the starter. He'll be traded away. Mac Jones would be the starter somewhere else. Because he's been fine. He's been fine. Not great.
Even if he gets moved, he'll have a starting job.
Yeah, I agree.
I
don't think he's getting moved. I don't see that happening. I don't know why Tom Brady would go back to
me neither.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
He's going to San Fran to back up Brock Purdy. No, I'm kidding.
So yeah, I also think Tennessee is pretty stuck with Ryan Tannehill. I mean, we know that forget Malik Willis is not a choice anymore. So I think they're stuck with Ryan Tannehill. I don't really see what the alternative is. I mean, they could draft a quarterback, I guess, but I don't know if they can rely on that. So
are they really stuck with him? Oh, yeah. Wait. It's guaranteed for injury, isn't it?
No, it's not that. It's more just that, what's their alternative? What else are they going to do? He's not being paid that
Yeah.
much, and they owe him a lot of it anyway. They owe him half of it.
Yeah, it's 18 mil dead cap. Yeah.
Yeah, so they'd have to pay 18 million to not
But
have
we've
it.
seen teams get out of it. They want to.
We've
they
seen
wanna
teams
fire
get out of
Vrabel,
it,
if wanna
but
fire
they
Vrabel
get out of
and
it
go
for a better
rebuild,
option. Who's the better option? That's the thing. There isn't anybody.
Caleb Williams in 2024.
Yeah, but
Maybe
then they
tank
don't have to
next
get rid of
year.
Tannehill. Then they just keep Tannehill, and then they can look at Caleb Williams in 2024.
They're not getting Caleb Williams if they play Tannehill.
Oh, I don't know about that. Tennessee has looked horrible.
Yeah,
They're one Derrick Henry injury away from being one of the worst teams in the league. I mean, they've been terrible.
I mean, if
They
trade
started
Derrick
off the
Henry,
season
then-
strong, but over the last few weeks, they've been awful, like unwatchable
I feel
levels
like
of
they'll
awful.
win enough games to not pick 101.
But they're not winning them right now. I mean, right now they're not winning them.
Oh, not
Right
right,
now,
now.
they're
I'm
not
talking
winning
like
them.
next year. Like they'll win more
Why would it
games
be
than probably
better?
the Texans.
Why would it be
again.
better next year? It hasn't been so good. It really hasn't been so
I
good.
think it's unlikely that they're in like the top 3 picks next year.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but if I had told you that Denver would be 4-12, you probably would have told me that I was completely insane.
Well, that's because
Or that the
Russ
Rams
was-
would be 5-11. Like no one would have believed that. So you just never know.
That's
I mean, they're
injury and
vulnerable. I
underperforming.
mean, Tennessee looks bad. They look bad. They're a team that's in bad shape.
Josh
you know,
Dobbs
they're-
won enough games.
They're a
to
team
make
that's in
it.
bad shape. They don't have a good future. You know, they don't. The roster is looking. It was good. It was good. It was contending, and the cliff was last year. Last year was it. Last year was their opportunity, was their window, and the window has. I mean, they might still win the division. I don't know. They got to win one game. They're not going to win that game. They're not going to win that game.
They're not
But
winning that game.
it feels like the cliff has passed them. You know, and it's going to be time. I think next year is going to be a trouble year for them, and then they'll be able to rip it all apart and prepare for a new coach. Not that Mike Vrabel is the problem. I don't think he's really the problem, but they're a team where I would not want to be their new general manager. You know, unless I was getting a contract with multiple guaranteed years, I would not want to be their general manager.
Yeah, they're in bad shape.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting things. Okay, let's take here we have some things here. Carr to the Colts, Wilson to the Panthers, and the song remains the same. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen.
Russell
Okay.
Wilson's not being moved.
This is Zach Wilson. That's not gonna happen though. Zach Wilson is not going anywhere.
Yeah, I read something.
I
The
thought
Jets
I
could
said
trade for Lamar Jackson, and
Zach Wilson.
Robert Saleh will say, "I still won't quit on Zach Wilson." They'll have Lamar Jackson on the roster.
Yeah,
I still
no,
won't quit
Robert
on
Saleh
Zach.
says that Zach Wilson is part of the solution. Whatever that means. Whatever
I
that
said-
means.
Solution is
we've
tanking
said
for
this-
2024.
Yeah, I said this last week. It doesn't make any sense. Like they're just it doesn't like he's gone out there and just looked so bad, and everyone else that's come in. Obviously, Mike White didn't look too good this week.
That's
but
an understatement.
for
Didn't
the
look
most
too, didn't
for the
look
most
too
part
good?
though. For the most part, though, anyone else that's
Mm.
gone in has looked significantly better than Zach Wilson. We can agree on that. And
Trevor-
they're still just like,
Yes.
nah, we want to keep him around. He's still our guy.
What
for
do
the
you-
future,
yeah, what do you want him
maybe.
to
And it's
say?
like, but like, just not that. Like, don't be that. Like it's
Don't
just
be
so
that guy,
clear
Robert.
that it's
The
not.
best part,
That's not
the best
truly
part
true.
of all of this, we know what the best part of all of this is, that the Jets finally got what they deserve. Geno Smith
Yeah.
put the nail in their coffin. That's what they deserved.
Yep.
And you know, it's karma
Wicked
what-
karma.
they did to him, you know, as a quarterback, because clearly they were the problem. They were obviously the problem. They were responsible for his failed career. So I don't feel so bad. Speaking of Geno Smith, what do we think about Geno Smith? Do you think Geno Smith is gonna what do you think is gonna happen with him? I mean, I think
I think he'll be the starter next year. I don't think the Seattle Seahawks are going to look quarterback. I mean, they do have the opportunity to, though, because of the Denver Broncos being so miserable. Like, they do have an opportunity to look quarterback. Like, that is a chance.
Yeah.
That is a
feels-
window. That's an open door for them. They can absolutely take the
feels
quarterback if they want to.
It feels to me as if, and maybe others would disagree, it feels to me that this is a weird quarterback class in which I feel like, is Bryce Young really that good? Really worth the number 1 overall pick? Really that good?
Yes, but no.
No, it's not yes, but no. It's no.
yes, but no.
It's no. To me,
Yes.
it's no. It's 100% no. But the Texans are there, and they're going to pick him anyway. I would think. I think it's Bryson.
Yeah, they're going to pick him.
Assuming the Texans lose the last game.
They're winning.
They're
beating the Colts.
I think I mean, if you saw what the Texans did this week, anyone
who they win, who would have the first pick then?
The Bears if they lost.
Could it be Bears?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is Denver in contention for it too, or no?
No.
I don't think they are. Right? They have too many. Yeah, they got too many.
Yeah. The thing is, though, that the Texans removed anyone who could play football from the field last week. So I don't know.
Yeah, but the Colts have no one that can play football really anyway. So like,
I think
I can't wait. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna be glued to it. There's gonna be division matchups going on.
Worst game ever.
Nah, that's the Broncos Colts.
Broncos. Oh man. Yeah.
Can you believe that there was a universe in which the Broncos beat the 49ers this year?
Nope.
The 49ers are a very bizarre team. They're 12-4, but 3 of their 4 losses are to the Bears, Broncos, and Falcons.
They just got taken to the wire by Jarrett Stidham.
I know.
They did.
It just shows you that there's a lot of parity in the NFL.
But no, you say
there's
all
a lot
those
of
things,
parity in the NFL.
You just listed those losses, and they were close yesterday. But like, I still think they are one of the best teams overall in the league. Like, and have
with Jimmy Garoppolo, they're the best team in the league.
The talent of the team is unmatched.
But that's the thing. Is Brock that far off from what Jimmy usually does? What he's shown so far.
This week could have been better, but not that far off.
He's still what made it five straight or 6 straight with two touchdown passes.
The problem is Trey Lance. Trey Lance is the problem. Trey Lance, they actually have been improved. I think his injury is the best thing that ever happened. I don't think they'd be 12-4 with him. I mean, he is no good. And now there's a new problem. I don't know if people heard about that. There's a new problem. There's a new surgery, another ankle surgery, a new problem. I don't want to hear about a new problem. It's been a long time. It's already been 3.5 months since the ankle injury. Now a new problem. Why is there another surgery now? That doesn't sound good. Why should there be another surgery? That's no good. We can't have that. We can't have that when they've won 9 games in a row without him. Why would they go back to injury and failure? If he was so good, he would have been the starter in year 1. But
yeah, and also when you look at it for fantasy too, if he's having multiple surgeries on his ankle, the rushing component, which we all
he certainly wasn't able to pass the ball. He didn't know he wasn't able to do that. So,
and the one thing we love about him is his running.
We're gonna have to see
if his ankle.
We're gonna have to see. I think they could be better off with Brock Purdy at this point. I mean, Brock Purdy. And they've been better off with Jimmy Garoppolo, and then they were better off with Brock Purdy. Anyone can run this offense, it seems like. That's not so good.
Yes, because Kyle Shanahan is a genius.
Yes, Kyle Shanahan is actually a genius. I hope that people actually recognize after this season and give Kyle Shanahan a little bit of credit, because I don't think the credit really lies with Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy being excellent. I don't really think that's the lesson we should learn.
No, with Shanahan.
That's not the lesson we should learn here. And also, the other lesson I think we should learn is for everyone in the running backs don't matter crew, Christian McCaffrey does matter. They've been a completely different team with Christian McCaffrey, a completely different offense with Christian McCaffrey. It's changed everything. I mean, they acquired him at the trade deadline. They were what? 4-3-4 or 4-4 at that point? I don't think they've lost since they've acquired Christian McCaffrey.
I mean, he's like that weapon that we basically knew Shanahan wanted out of the backfield that he never really
It's like if
had.
Debo Samuel were actually a running back.
That's
what it is. It's if Debo Samuel were actually a running back.
It's because he's had the pure great rushers, and then he had, he's using Debo at the back. And now he's just combined that into this beast of a human being, and his name's CMC, and it's taken their offense and just team to a whole new level. And
their offense,
they look great.
Brock Purdy has had better games, but he still wasn't terrible. He's
doing enough.
He did come up clutch when it mattered. When it mattered, he delivered a victory. A victory. He was able to utilize the weapons that he had, even without Debo Samuel. He was able to get the ball to Ayuk and McCaffrey. McCaffrey was able to execute on the ground. I mean, they executed a good game plan on offense. That was not the problem. The offense was just fine. The defense, for some reason, I don't know what happened to the 49ers defense. Suddenly it just couldn't do anything. I was a little confused. I was very surprised.
Yeah, it was
Suddenly it couldn't stop anybody.
It was
My theory is they just went in like thinking Stidham was just going to be a joke, and then he was actually like kind of competent, and they were like, "Oh, whoa!" Like, and
well, I think their
just,
plan
like,
was to stack the box,
like,
to stack the box against Josh Jacobs, and they did limit him to not a huge day. So that they did well in that area, but then I think they were a little too busy focusing on the box and not busy enough focusing on covering the wide
Devontae Adams.
No.
Yeah, I mean, Devontae Adams played very well. Darren Waller had some big plays. It was good. Foster Moreau has been up and down.
Really good.
Up and down. I think up and down. He's a free agent after this year. That'll be interesting. I think he could be someone to kind of keep in mind, not as a high-end option, but you saw Hayden Hurst this year was a nobody, signs in the right place, and then had fantasy value. I could see.
Yeah. You can see like streaming tight ends every like.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where at that level for tight end, where you sign matters more than your talent. Like Gerald Everett is nothing.
I was just about to say
nothing. Yeah, Gerald Everett is nothing, but because he signed on the Chargers, he had fantasy value. Whereas Hayden Hurst is nothing, but because he signed in Cincinnati, he has some fantasy value. And if he went to next year, if he went and signed in, Carolina, he would have no fantasy value at all. So it's just the kind of thing where you sign at that level is important. So it's just someone to keep in mind. If he's let's say Hayden Hurst goes elsewhere, maybe he takes that position. Dalton Schultz walks. Someone could take a job in Dallas. If whoever takes that starting job could be someone who has some fantasy value. Just someone to keep in mind. Because Foster Moreau is fine. He's fine. He's just as good as like a Tyler Conklin, who's had fantasy value at times this year. Yeah. Malik Willis is toast. Yeah, toast. I think this is it. I mean, now that they've named Josh Dobbs their starter for next week, I think it's fair. I mean, I'd rather have Brock Purdy over Malik Willis. And then you're getting it. Malik Willis, it's the kind of thing where it is what it is. I don't know what you do. You still roster him, but I don't see the future.
I wanted to believe so badly last week that they were doing this so that he, has the full 2 weeks to prepare and they're saving him. They didn't want him. I wanted to believe that so bad. And then that news hits. I'm like, oh no.
To be fair, we should be thankful. If you have Treylon Burks in Dynasty, you should be thankful because you don't ever want Malik Willis to go in. Ever. Malik Willis is fantasy poison. He's like the even worse version of Justin Fields, who is also, I gotta tell you, this week was not good. Running was good. Passing is not good. He has still not developed. It's still
a perfect example.
Malik Willis is a worse
in fantasy
in every way.
Malik Willis is a worse insert Falcons QB too, which is also horrible. So.
Marcus Mariota is a significant, and Desmond Ridder are significantly.
No, that's what I'm saying. But it's just like, it's just he just clearly doesn't.
Desmond Ridder, I feel like has some potential. He hasn't looked. Yeah. Considering his team is horrible, he's actually been able to execute something as a passer. It's actually pretty good for someone who is coming off the bench, who has no real weapons other than Drake London. Drake London and nothing. He's been okay. I don't know. The Falcons are another team. I feel like they're going to go another way. But they could end up being stuck with that. Sometimes you get in that situation. There's always going to be, Desmond Ridder. Is he one of the 32 best quarterbacks? Probably not. But you also have to realize that the 32 best quarterbacks don't always get distributed one on every team. Sometimes you end up with weird situations.
Yeah.
And he's someone that what I don't think Atlanta's going to do, they're not one bridge quarterback away. I don't think Atlanta is signing Jimmy Garoppolo.
No, they better.
I don't think that solves anything. They're not Jimmy Garoppolo. The Jets, I get it. The Jets roster is really good. But the quarterback is bad. I get it. Atlanta, not so good. It's not good. So Atlanta, I think, is either going to take a quarterback in the first round or not at all. And I do still lean that they do. I think they could reach for a quarterback. They're at 7 right now. I think they could take a quarterback like Will
I think they
Levis.
could also though if they just draft like whatever other position this year they want and then go for quarterback because they're going to be a bad team again. They could be a top 3 pick like next
It
year.
could be, but you don't even get to be. I mean, in theory, you don't even get to be at 7 that often. I mean, that means you're one of the 25% worst. You don't get to be that high that often. I mean, you have teams like Washington who are honestly terrible, and they're still 7-8-1. They're 14. I mean, Pittsburgh has been kind of up and down, and they're 8-8. I mean, you don't get to be even in the top 10 that often. So it's the kind of thing when you're that high, you can't rely on next year might not be better. It could be another 7-10 season, and then you're doing this again and again and again and again and again.
I still think about the alternate universe where the Falcons signed got Deshaun Watson, and just like think about what would have been. Maybe.
I think about that for the Jets. What happens if they didn't win that game last year against the Rams?
I mean,
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
And you had Trevor Lawrence instead of
Frank
Wilson.
Gore permanently changed the NFL forever. With that catch pass.
Those
was Frank Gore.
It was Frank Gore who caught the pass to seal the game.
Frank Gore is still torching the Jets.
Still torching the Jets. Jets legend Frank Gore.
Jeez. Oh man. Well,
is that his final play in the NFL?
I do not
Might
know.
have been.
Might have been, but it was also not the last week, so.
Oh my.
This is a good line for Devin Singletary.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Wow.
You think he gets there?
Really... Because the thing is, when you look at this Bengals-Bills game, I mean, 2 very high-powered offenses. Like, this could be a barn burner of a game, and if it is, Devin Singletary has all the opportunity to get in the end zone. If he does, he's going to break this mark.
The good news is he's broken it once in the last 5 games. So
true.
I think we're
James
looking,
Cook.
even when the
James Cook is crushed.
James Cook's a thing.
We've seen even the Bills put up 30-40 points and Singletary has nothing to do with it and he doesn't get to rush one in and then we've seen
also though, when you're talking about you said he hasn't broken it the last 5 games, one of them he put like 11.1 and the other one he put like 10.
Yeah,
still,
but that's still less. You would still win if you put up.
Yeah,
those
you would still
things,
win.
right?
That's like, come on,
so, I mean,
this is tough.
I think
we'll have to see.
We'll have to see. He's literally averaging on the year 11.7 in full PPR. So he is. That's his like.
I'll take the
under. That's just as close. I think I'm going.
I
think I'm going the under with you, Tyler. I think this
under.
is just going to be more pass happy.
Really?
We've seen James Cook just get more
Cincinnati's
involved.
run defense has been pretty good lately.
I just think James Cook looks better.
I think he just barely gets it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it is one of those, like, if he gets it, he's going to get, like, 11.8, and you're just, this is going to be the worst thing for you, and I'm sorry, but, we're rooting for you.
100% I'm rooting for you, but
yeah.
I think he's going to get it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's too many points, too many yards on offense that this could be.
I mean, he could get there without scoring, but it's tough.
Yeah, I don't think
it's tough. He probably has to score to get there. And he's only scored 6 touchdowns all year. So.
Still 6 more than Deontay Johnson.
I gotta tell you, we're gonna talk about Deontay Johnson.
Oh yeah,
we have a problem. We have a problem there. That one is not good. Adams will remain in Vegas after they signed Brady in the offseason. The GOATs still got it. So Devontae Adams, people might say, oh, well, I mean, Devontae Adams is going to be out of town. I don't know about that. It's not so. The cap hit to move Devontae Adams is crippling. They just signed this contract.
Okay, I have a question. So if Derek Carr, we know he's leaving. Does that mean if Tom Brady signs, you think Tom Brady's going to buy Derek Carr's house and become Devontae Adams' neighbor?
So
that would be
if the Raiders executed a pre-June 1 trade of Devontae Adams, it would cost them $16.9 million in cap space. That's not going to happen.
Ooh, Jahmyr Gibbs claims the declares the NFL draft.
We knew he was good.
But yeah, we just.
Yeah. So the thing is, Devontae Adams could be traded as a post-June 1 trade, In that case, he would leave $7.85 million in dead cap for each of the next for a while. And then a massive dead cap hit in 2024.
And moving Adams would be very difficult for
It
them.
would be difficult. I think they can't do it as a regular trade. You can't do it. They'd be eating 16.9 million. They could just play hardball and just say, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. Sorry. They can't do it. They can't do it. They can't afford to eat 16.9 million and then have Devontae Adams gone. That's not an option. So I think that they're going to try to make nice with him. You know, they're going to try to get him to stay.
I mean, look what he just did with Stidham.
Well, I mean, what is the Raiders' plan? I mean, what is their plan?
I don't know. Hopefully, I mean, this
Their
is the thing.
future, they're one of the teams that their future isn't.
No, their future is
It
terrible.
definitely
They're-
shouldn't
they're-
involve some of the staff they currently have, but hearing some of those stories where they're too cheap to get rid of, it's crazy to me.
Josh
So
McDaniels.
yeah, it's so
Yeah.
I really don't know what's going to happen there, because there's like things that logically like they should have already done and like should do at least in this offseason, but like then there's other stories where like they're not going to do that because financial reason, and it's like what, okay, so I guess they're just.
Do you think they're going to go? I mean, do you think they're going to be in contention for a potential Tom Brady?
The roster's not good.
That's the thing. Like the
Maybe.
roster itself isn't like their only draw would.
But if
just
Tom
be,
Brady
what, their
signs there,
location or something?
you could get players to sign there on the cheap that wouldn't otherwise.
I guess, yeah.
Possibly. Yeah.
We'll have to see. Yeah, no, this was very bad. This was bad.
Yeah.
Why would Brady want to go play in that division?
I don't know. I don't know.
Doesn't.
After
No way.
after what he did this year and he still wins this division, like what is he trying to do going over
He
there?
looked pretty
Like,
good this week.
Yeah, no, I mean,
He looked great. Yeah.
Yeah, so that Mike Evans guy.
goat's goat. I feel like that was so maybe not expected, but like, it
I
was
did
coming.
say,
It was
how long
coming.
have I been saying something along the lines of, well, you probably have to keep starting Mike Evans every week because you don't
Because
want to miss out.
Because you missed
on the
this and you're the
potential.
biggest idiot ever.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's
Yeah, how many title teams is he really on? Is
that's what I was saying. Too bad it didn't really
It's possible
matter.
though because he's not that in Dynasty. In redraft, it's harder because
In
you
redraft,
probably
obviously,
picked him early. He
redraft.
probably killed you.
Yeah.
But in Dynasty, you could have picked him late in this year, especially if you did your startup when Brady had retired. You could have picked Mike Evans really late. So it's possible.
Yeah, Mike Evans killed everybody during the regular season, kicked off all their teams out of the playoffs, and then had a week 17 big week.
I don't think almost anyone won with Justin Jefferson though. That would have been tough.
Oh yeah, Justin Jefferson. It was funny. He did this last year too. Everyone remember week 17 Justin Jefferson last year? It was his second worst game of the year. He had like 5 points in that game.
Wow, this is his worst.
Well, this is his worst
This is
game
his
of
worst
his
game of the year.
career.
his
Not
career,
even
yeah.
his rookie season. He didn't have.
He
as
just
bad of a
doesn't
game.
like fantasy managers. That's all.
Not
it is.
even the first 2 games when he barely even played. He had as bad of a game as he did this year. or
Tennessee
this
has
week.
quit on the season.
Sad.
Well, I mean, it's one way to look at it. They've lost 6 games in a row. That doesn't sound so good, right? They've lost 6 games in a row. That's not good, right? Well, I don't know. What do you guys think? Is losing 6 games in a row a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, Are you trying to get a higher draft pick and you're at the
Well,
top?
no, I don't think so. I mean,
No?
I thought
Okay,
that they
then
were.
no.
So it's not so good, right?
Nope, not at all.
Not good. But don't worry, there's upside, right? They've definitely scored a lot of points in those games, right? No, they haven't. They've only scored more than 16 points in one of those 6 games. So that's not so good. What about defense? They've done really well. The defense used to be good. Well, not really. They've allowed 17 or more points in all of them, and we have some really bad performances.
Their rushing defense is a little bit better than the rest of it. I think their secondary has been just a turnstile like all year essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been.
But
Not
teams
so
have
good.
had a harder time running against them. passing, it's easy.
Yeah, they've been pretty solid against the run, but everywhere else it's disaster.
I mean, they were pretty solid, but they're good against the Cowboys, but against the Texans had 184 rushing yards against them.
Was Pierce playing in that game?
No, he wasn't.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's not so good. There's room for improvement. I don't know. Who even cares? Started Swift over Monty last week. Did the opposite. Oh, no. I am very sorry.
It's a disaster.
If you went with me, you probably would have played Monty both times. So I would have helped you last week. Not this week.
The military grade protection.
I don't want to hear it.
It's ribs.
But Justin Herbert's had broken ribs all year.
And he's been not so good. I mean, there's been room for improvement. It's weird. Justin Herbert is in the playoffs now, but this has been his worst year. Weird times. Thanks for the super chat.
Yeah, thank you, Steve.
In your opinion, how does a league with more starting players in a lineup and deeper benches affect a player's trade value? Example, Swift okay. So for me, it doesn't affect players specifically like that. It's more that the more starting spots there are, the more likely I am to accept the 3 side of a 3-for-1 trade. The less there are, the more you want the 1. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think similarly, it's I'm more willing to accept guys that in most leagues are kind of like a 1-year roster clogger that you're barely ever going to start. But if you have so many, 3-4 flexes or something, they might actually be starting for you more often. And I'm more willing to take that bigger side, because usually almost always you're trying to kind of delegate all those pieces into one higher piece, and you want the one side on a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1. That's usually my mentality, but I do agree where if you have a lot more starters, then that's totally fine.
Okay. Pickett made some nice throws last night.
Pickett's been actually decently impressive this year. Actually, it's been good. He's actually made a lot of good flashes, made some good throws. I mean, he scored the game-winning touchdown here for them.
Oh man, I mean,
he just hates Deontay Johnson.
That's
my problem.
That is a big problem. Yeah, it's not great for Deontay Johnson. He's loving Pat Freiermuth. George Pickens is getting in every once in a while. Najee's been really good.
The problem is it's not like he hates Deontay, and Pickens and Freiermuth are both awesome as a result. It's not everyone just is usually with him.
Yeah, it's
and it's
could be a
I wish
the volume.
It's
the volume's low. The volume is low.
A lot of work for the running backs.
Yeah, I mean, he has 6 touchdowns and 11 starts. So 6.1 yards per attempt is awful. It's awful. I mean, it's awful.
That's really
it's awful. So he actually he's been winning games. This kind of reminds me of Mac Jones' rookie year.
A little bit
winning games, but the fantasy stats are bad.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see.
Mac Jones was a little better efficiency wise.
Yes,
but
I think the offense was set up for him a little bit better to succeed.
I don't know what to do with Kenny Pickett really, because I mean, is there any doubt that he's going to be the Steelers starter next year? Not really, right? I mean, there's no doubt.
No, he's going to be. Yeah, I think he's going to be a solid quarterback for them that can win them some games, get them to some playoffs. But I think for fantasy, it's going to be messy.
The good news about Pittsburgh is they don't just abandon these players very often. Kenny Pickett is going to get a longer leash than he might in some other places. They're not going to abandon him very fast. So there are some organizations that, for better or for worse, stick with their guys for longer. The Giants are another one. Stick with people for too long. Yeah. So I don't know. He's a hard one to value because, like, he's just okay. I mean, what's the upside?
So I was just looking at some wins above replacement, kind of just curious about where he stood in that, and he definitely is very low.
He's bad. Yeah, no, he's been bad. I mean,
behind names like, you know, Heineke, Mac Jones, Jacoby Brissett. Not a great spot on that list, but
it's the kind of thing where, like, in Superflex, his value gets moved up because quarterback is so thin. But I don't.
It's like,
really
at least
you
know for a fact he's starting next year, where there is definitely a little bit of mystery around a bunch of like other guys that,
and he can run too.
Starting
He can run the football decently well. It'll be interesting to see if he does that a little bit more as he plays.
Yeah, but again, it's just like the volume isn't really there for even two guys, let alone three, to be reliable in a fantasy sense for you.
If you started anybody, they let you down.
Yeah, unless it was one of the running backs. Like, that's literally. Like,
Jalen Warren scored far more than any receiver.
That's what I'm saying. Obviously Najee, but like Jalen Warren, even that's like you said, like I don't see how, you know, Johnson pick
for me. Deontay Johnson is just a hands off in Dynasty. It's too late. It's like Terry McLaurin has been for years.
A little bit,
yeah. It's just too late. It's too late. It's too late to fix it. You can't be, well, the talent is there. It might be fixed eventually. It's too late. I don't want to hear about eventually. I don't have time for eventually. He's going to be 27 in July. It's too late. It's too late to talk about eventually. We're not on eventually. Yeah. We need now. George Pickens, I'm willing to say the talent is there. I'm willing to wait for eventually because he's 4.5, almost 5 years younger than Deontay Johnson. Pat Freiermuth, I'm willing to wait because tight end is so skinny and thin that there's just not a lot of options. You have to, it is what it is. So he doesn't need to do that much to be a viable tight end. But Deontay Johnson is just a complete no-go for me in Dynasty. I won't have any part of him.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
And unlike the Commanders, they're not replacing Kenny Pickett. You know, the Commanders' quarterback situation next year is going to be better than it was this year because it literally cannot be worse. It cannot be worse. These two worst, unless they trade for Zach Wilson, then it could be worse.
I mean, Taylor Heineke was actually pretty good for Terry McLaurin.
For fantasy, yes. For Terry McLaurin only. Yes. He wasn't actually better. But for Terry McLaurin, he was better because he locked on to Terry McLaurin at the expense of his team a lot of the time. Exactly. It wasn't better. It just concentrated everything to Terry McLaurin. Whereas Carson Wentz spread the ball around more. So that was
ended going a little bit with Heineke too towards the end.
Not really. Dotson's biggest games were at the beginning with Wentz. And the big one was Curtis Samuel, was completely important with Wentz and non-existent with Taylor Heineke. That was really the biggest difference. But I would have done that. I think anyone would have done that. Garrett Wilson killed me this week. I mean, he had the 11 targets. Tough. I wasn't wrong about that. But I had Garrett Wilson at wide receiver 9 this week. It's totally.
I mean, that offense in general kind of was a disaster. So
it was a disaster. Yeah, the whole thing was a disaster.
No one.
Targets
really
were there. I mean, if you told me Garrett Wilson was going to have 11 targets, I would have been pretty happy with my wide receiver 9 rank. But he didn't do anything. 3 for 18. That's it.
Yeah.
Disappointing.
Conklin was the only one you were happy with starting.
Yeah, it was disappointing.
Just like we all thought, right? Just like we all thought.
Thoughts on Godwin in Dynasty? He might be on my list. So we're going to talk about some Dynasty buys in a sec. And we'll just give, if people have some ideas on that, we can start to think about it right now. And if you guys have any, I have some. We have some to talk about. I have some others that I haven't put on the show sheet yet. For Godwin, I would say he's an interesting player in Dynasty. I think he's been very effective since he recovered from his injury. He's been good. He is a little bit older. I mean, he's not old. He turns 27 in like a month or so. I'm concerned if Tom Brady leaves, though, that could be a problem.
I think his value would take his value would obviously take a dip, but I feel like if Tom Brady leaves and he gets replaced, I feel like Godwin's value could be at a point where it drops so low that it's actually worth buying.
You want to play either or?
Yeah.
Chris Godwin or Drake London?
That's interesting.
I think I'd take the youth, honestly, in that.
So would I.
Yeah,
It's
I would.
extremely close, but I think the youth makes it London. It's so close though.
Treylon Burks?
I want Godwin.
You giving me Josh Dobbs as his quarterback, or are you giving me?
Well, it's not Malik Willis.
Well, yeah, it's just because they're stuck with Ryan Tannehill, and then Derrick Henry's going to be gone. That's going to crush this offense.
I mean, let's not forget that Ryan Tannehill is the same quarterback who worked with AJ Brown.
No, yeah,
and was just fine.
He's fine. He'll be just fine for. I'm just saying, it's like
Ryan Tannehill is a lock-on quarterback. Ryan Tannehill is a lock-on quarterback. He did it with AJ Brown for years.
And he just doesn't have.
And also, let's not forget the other time Ryan Tannehill with Jarvis Landry was also a lock-on quarterback. So that's not bad. It's fine. I'll take Treylon Burks.
I'll take Godwin, but just barely.
Stephon Diggs. I feel like Stephon Diggs has a lot on the line. If he
tonight,
after all these weeks of killing you, kills you again, I feel like his dynasty value is going to take, fair or unfair, is going to take a massive hit.
Yeah,
I think he has a lot on the line.
He's been ruining your fantasy plus.
3 straight weeks outside of the
it's hard to imagine a lot of people with Stephon Diggs are still here.
Yeah, it's tough to. Yeah,
I didn't get a lot of Stephon Diggs start-sit questions.
I mean, to be fair,
I don't think a lot of people.
We did have some tough weather in this stretch. It's not all his fault.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, Hutch. Nobody's going to remember that.
Yeah, nobody's going to remember that. Yeah.
I don't think I got a single Stephon Diggs start-sit question this week. I don't think I even got one. Because
you start Stephon Diggs. It's not.
No, I got plenty of them last week. I got so many of them last week.
Well, because the weather game was last week.
But I had him the week before, even when he was still, in that slump. I had them. The reason I don't think I had any Stephon Diggs questions this week is because there is nobody left. If you took Stephon Diggs in the first round of a redraft, you didn't survive the last 2 weeks. It would be almost impossible to have survived.
So there's nearly a 3-year difference between. So there's nearly a 3-year difference between them in age.
Yeah, I'm going to take Godwin over Diggs.
I think I take Godwin as well. I think the 3-year age difference makes it for me.
It's close. I'd lean. What about Cooper Kupp? Would you rather Kupp or Diggs? I think it's close.
Oh, I want Diggs. Definitely.
Oh, I'm not so sure.
I want Diggs. I mean, they're both near the same age, and one is in a significantly better offense, and he's not coming off an injury.
I'll take
Diggs.
Stafford is definitely
probably the starter again. Yeah,
definitely back next year. No, I mean that's a good thing for Kupp.
Yeah,
Kupp was basically on the almost same pace until he went down.
He was around there, yeah.
So Kupp was excellent.
I mean,
until the moment he went down.
I'm trying to think because, I have Diggs in my main home dynasty league, and if I was offered Kupp straight up, I think I would accept that.
Kupp averaged 101 yards a game, 9 catches in the 8 healthy games he played.
101. Wow.
Yeah.
Diggs hasn't gotten there in like 6 or 7 weeks.
So it's
tough.
So I don't know.
It's so tough with these guys though, because before this stretch we're in the playoffs and they just destroyed you, they had just such an awesome season. They were just so dependable and like.
I just generally don't draft these guys. Tyreek Hill is the one I'd make an exception for. I'm okay with Tyreek Hill, oddly, over these two, over Diggs and Kupp. Because there's really no concerns with Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's looked excellent all year. Whereas the other two, I feel like there's some concerns. I don't really want to draft Tyreek Hill either, but I will if I have to. But yeah, I'd have Godwin over them. I mean, then there's other guys. I mean, like Michael Pittman, Devonta Smith, who I also think are interesting versus Godwin.
Yeah, those picks. Yeah, those two are tough.
Devontae, he's looked good.
Devonta Smith has been really good.
He's been
I would take
excellent
him.
lately. He's been excellent as of late. Like the last 5-6 weeks.
Michael Pittman, I feel bad for.
I think he might be. I feel like he might be one of those like Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin, where it just like the quarterback just never shows up, but the talent's always there. I feel like he could.
Yeah, he's running out of time a little bit.
Yeah,
but he's younger than they are.
He is. He's 25, 24?
25
now. Yeah, it's getting close. If another bridge quarterback comes in, that's going to be bad.
But also, Michael Pittman hasn't signed an extension there, so he could.
Yeah,
he could find himself on a whole other team, and then he'd be fine.
That's true as well. Yeah.
I'd rather have Godwin over Pittman, though. Godwin's done a lot more in his career. He's not that much older.
I would as well. I would rather have Godwin, but I think I might rather have Smith over Godwin.
Yeah, I go Smith Godwin, Pittman.
Smith is interesting because I do feel like he's always kind of going to be a little bit of a bargain.
Yes, because of AJ Brown and that. Just how
man, Devonta Smith has been so good.
No, he's been dominating. I mean, I told you, Tyler, before the season. I told you.
I don't think anyone expected Jalen Hurts to be this good.
No one expects. I mean, no.
Like,
not as a passer, I don't think, and like complete overall just effect on that offense. Like we all knew he's like going to be a good fantasy guy because he's going to, rush some touchdowns in, get his yards there, and he's
I did have
good
Hurts
enough as a passer,
QB2 coming in the air. He was above Herbert and right below Allen. That was it.
That's a good call.
And I had Smith in my top 20.
Yeah, I mean, really, like when I look at it, I think what kind of happened was that, to be honest, like I actually had AJ Brown. People told me I was too high on AJ Brown coming into the year. I actually had him too low.
Yeah, I had AJ Brown like 10 or 12.
I had him at 7.
Around there. Yeah, I'm a little low. I liked Smith a lot, so I had him a little higher.
I mean, AJ Brown has been better, but
Brown's
not as much better as I thought he would be.
Yeah, it's not like a 1-2. It's been more.
This
like
is more like Jamar Smith. Jamar
Smith.
Tired, man. I'm tired,
Smith and T Brown.
Yeah,
exactly.
Jamar Chase and T Higgins. More like that than Devonta Smith. I think is someone that looks. I mean, really, like, would you rather have Devonta Smith or those older guys, Diggs and Kupp? I mean, Devonta Smith, I think, is too low in my rankings, and I think that needs to be adjusted. Because I think Devonta Smith versus, I think I'd still rather have Drake London and Treylon Burks, but it's close.
No, I think I still want Smith actually.
Yeah, those guys get quarterbacks though.
Yeah,
it's an if.
It's always hard. I'm always, and I mean always, gonna have that little bias in the back of my head against the not alpha type. I'm always gonna struggle.
Fair. It's fair
with that type. It's hard for me to rank Devonta Smith as high as he is now. Like, that's why I've had Michael Pittman over Devonta Smith for the longest period of time. Because Michael Pittman just feels like, and that's obviously needs to change, but Michael Pittman feels like, we're not really talking about ourselves, right? Michael Pittman feels like an alpha, and Devonta Smith doesn't. But, maybe we need to, like, adjust with times. I think this has been a good exercise, I think, for that.
We need to value twos and high-powered offenses that are good wide receivers. I'm not saying like twos, I'm not saying like Gabe Davis, but I'm saying like Devontae Smith and T Higgins more than
those guys.
That's not really what I mean. It's more that
I'm saying
Devontae
Smith. That's
different.
Like, but those guys are good.
I think you're talking about Devontae. I think he's really talking about Devontae Smith. If you put him as the dominant number one receiver in an offense, he wouldn't be super.
No, it's not that either. It's the body type. It's just Devonta Smith is not your. If you look at Devonta Smith, if you just look at him, you don't see. This doesn't scream. This is a fantasy wide receiver 1, alpha wide receiver 1. You don't. You don't see him that way. You don't think about that. But we're getting to a new era, I think, in which I don't want to say we're moving away because on the same team. I mean, AJ Brown is that. What you think about it, he's done very well. we're not those players. The Jamar Chase still exists. I mean, we're not moving we're not moving away from those players. But if you look at some of the top players, like a lot of them are not the Julio Jones mold.
I mean,
Yeah. Seriously, like, I got to meet Devontae at he had like a softball game for like with his charity and stuff over the summer, and I got to meet him and take a picture with him. Like, I'm basically like, I mean, my legs are like bigger and more muscular than his are. Like, it was just straight up. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, he's
Careful.
so
Hutch lips, bro.
Careful about saying that. You'll get fan mail. I got fan mail.
No, you did not.
Yeah, I did.
Oh my God. Please don't do that to me. I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I don't care.
No, I
Ryan,
love
when
Devontae
are you getting your
Smith.
fan mail?
What?
No, when is Ryan getting his fan mail?
When my bed gets made.
So never.
Hey, it's pretty all right.
But yeah, it was. I could try to show you guys the picture after the show, maybe. But yeah, it was just ridiculous. Like, I'm nearly his size. It was really funny. He's a small guy.
No, he's awesome, but I do think the last 2 weeks, especially being the fantasy playoffs, have kind of, have a bigger imprint on our.
I mean, he's been
overall look of
dominating
him.
for the past 6 weeks, though.
Yeah, he's
But
been
I
good.
know,
Straight
but
up
the last 2 weeks specifically with Gardner Minshew, that's his best game of the year and his 4th best game of the year in terms of PPR, and then the 2 highest target games he's had all year as well. So I just want to say, if he's actually, he's cracking that 10 targets a game every game, once, we have Jalen Hurts back too, like that, then by all means, like he's right up there. But I just feel like when everyone's healthy, like there is the pecking order, and like it's
but the pecking order has changed. The pecking order changed throughout the season. I feel like they started to move away from Dallas Goedert, who is not really delivered. They started to move away. He really didn't deliver. I mean, it really wasn't. It wasn't so good though. It wasn't so good. I mean, Dallas Goedert. I think people would say Dallas Goedert, while he might have improved a little bit. I mean, I guess he's been okay, but I would say people would be a little disappointed.
The last 2 weeks have been kind of okay. Yeah, 3 and 6 targets.
I mean, Dallas Goedert has had a couple of big. I mean, he's had some good games, but I don't know. I
don't know. 12 points a game.
I think we need to move away. I mean,
fantasy, that is gold.
I guess so. But I don't think that's going to continue.
No, and that's fair. That's fair because it's clearly AJ.
When you look at his game logs, though, when you look, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right though, because it's like, look at his game log. He's been consistently, he's had one.
To be honest, I think given what people expected last year after Zach Ertz departed, and this year, I think he's been a disappointment. He's been fine, but just fine.
Yeah,
for what people expected.
I think that's kind of like what they wanted to see is like, oh, Ertz was like that focal point and like just such a target hog in that offense with, not the best wide receivers usually for years. And then he left and it's like, oh, now it's his turn. But now they've added 2 amazing wide receivers next to him. It wasn't going to be like this target funnel like Zach Ertz was in the Eagles offense.
I will say that I think it's going to be more similar next year to what it was the last 2 weeks than what it's been overall.
I would agree.
I think Devonta Smith has blossomed, and I think it's now a 1A, 1B, 3 pecking order.
Yeah, when you look at Dallas Goedert's game log weeks 1 through 9, not kind of week 10 because that was the Washington game where he got hurt.
It's not about the game log.
Yeah, no, just like saying this, he had 2 games under 13.
Well, no,
2 games under 13 PPR fantasy points, but he only had 2 games above.
Well,
50.
you won't find the answer in Dallas Goedert's game log. The answer is not in Dallas Goedert's game log. The answer is in Devonta Smith's game log.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just trying to point out what you were saying. He's a disappointment. He wasn't, because he was consistent, but he also wasn't electrifying this year. He wasn't a difference maker.
I think people expected a little more. I think people expected more last year and this year once he took the full-time starting job. I think he's been fine. He's been good, but I think people expected him to be top 3. And that has not happened.
Since the week 7 bye, Devonta Smith only has 1 game with less than 8 targets.
But that's part of what I'm saying.
That's the biggest.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's what happened is that they see that Devonta Smith is their second best option.
Yeah, when
and
Goddard
Devonta
was gone, Smith started to blossom, and then
well,
they
yeah,
realized,
that kind of
Smith's
started,
not
and
good.
then but they're not going to go back now.
Yeah, they're
The
not.
genie's out of the bottle. Devonta Smith is a younger, ascending player, while as Dallas Goedert turns 28 in January. He's still in his prime, but he's not ascending. Dallas Goedert, we've seen the best from Dallas Goedert, skill-wise. Maybe he'll have a season where he gets lucky and gets more touchdowns. The touchdown luck has never gone his way.
I'm hearing you loud and clear. Next week, Dallas Goedert, 102.
Yeah, well, then it won't matter. Then it won't matter. Then no one will care.
Exactly.
All right, what about this one? Would you trade Deshaun Watson or Lamar Jackson in a 10-team Superflex straight up for the 101? I'd trade both of them in a 10-team Superflex for the 101. And a 10-team Superflex, I'd rather have Bijan Robinson than either of those. Any of these, actually.
Deshaun Robinson?
Bijan Robinson.
Oh, Bijan.
Bijan Robinson.
Deshaun.
No.
Yeah,
trade any of these for Bijan.
Still having Trevor and Lamar as your QBs, assuming you're able to just go with Deshaun.
I would. Well, which one would you trade of these three?
Watson.
I would trade Watson, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Watson. Yeah.
So
you give up Watson of these three. Yeah.
No, I mean, Watson is in a different tier from these two for me.
Yeah, Watson's in that lower tier.
Like, for me,
Lamar
it's kind
of, I don't know if I'd be willing to trade Lamar or Trevor for the 101 straight up. I think I might.
In a 10-team, I would.
10-team makes it more interesting,
Yeah.
but it's. I think I'd be like, okay, that's an okay trade. Like if I got
Reason
off
why-
101 for Trevor Lawrence or Lamar
So
Jackson.
people
like,
might
okay,
ask, if
that's
they're
cool.
watching the show, people might ask, why in a 10-team Superflex is it the quarterback worth less? Why
Yeah,
is
it's a great
that?
question to
It's
ask.
a great question. Well, I'll answer it. It's good. It was a great question. Now I'll answer it. It's because there's no scarcity. Every team can have 3 quarterbacks. So if you need an extra one at any given time, there's many teams that can afford to trade you one. So since there's many teams that can afford to trade you one, they cannot jack up the price. So the ability to acquire a replacement quarterback in a 10-team Superflex is far easier than in a 12-team Superflex. So since the replacement level is much easier to acquire, the value of going high-end at quarterback is lower because you can replace it much easier than in a 12-team Superflex where people cannot afford to do it.
Or like a 14 or 16 teamer.
Well,
Like
that's a whole separate story.
franchise
that's a different
quarterbacks
story.
become massive. Like they become huge in like 12, 14, 16 teamers. But in 10-team
But
quarterback position becomes a little bit more placeable.
essentially for me in Superflex, Mahomes and Allen are the top 2. You can have them in whatever order you want. I have Allen still first, then Mahomes. Then the next 3 are I still have Hurts at 3, and then I think 4 and 5 is interesting between Burrow and Herbert. Burrow's been better this year. Herbert was better the last 2 years, so it's more of a question of what matters more. Who you think is the better player, who was better more recently. But those are 4 and 5 pretty easily. And then you get to the next group, which is Lamar, Fields, and Trevor Lawrence. Those are the next 3. And then there are some concerns with those 3. Lamar, kind of up and down play. Justin Fields, can't pass still. And Trevor Lawrence has been really solid, but does he have like that high end upside the volume? Is that ever going to come?
He's going to show it next year.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's why he's
Calvin
the first round
Ridley.
startup pick for me. And then you have the next group, which has serious concerns. Deshaun Watson, Tua, and Dak. There are serious concerns with those 3. I have serious concerns with all of them.
You think you put in Bryce Young in that tier if he gets the 101?
Yes, Bryce Young would be in that tier. Bryce Young is going to fit in with that tier, with that group. He's probably going to be at the bottom of it, but he's going to be in that group.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
In that tier, with those 3. And then after that, it falls off a cliff because the next quarterback I have ranked is Trey Lance, but it's like 2.5 almost 3 startup rounds later. So it's not even close after that. So there's like, I would say that Dak Prescott, who I have at 12, is closer in value to Josh Allen at 1 than he is to Trey Lance at 13. That's what I would say.
So what you're saying is Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, all those guys are probably going to slot in somewhere in between those guys.
Correct. Yeah, I would say that Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are almost certainly going to be 13 and 14. Behind Dak, but ahead of Lance. I can't see any universe in which they're anything else. That is where they're going to go. that gulf is multiple rounds of value. So there's so much room for them to go in there. So that is almost certainly where they are going to land. It's just a question of where in that range they're going to land. I cannot see a universe in which they vault above them just because they're going to go to whoever goes number 1 is the only one who could. And they're going to go to the Texans, which is not somewhere I want them to go. I don't trust the Texans. I don't trust anything about them. So that's going to be a little bit of a punishment.
Yeah.
All right. I have what are we trading here? Crazy to trade Fields and or Lawrence for 2+ firsts. Oh, I would have to be a lot. Or use my 108 and 3 seconds. Yeah, we're not going to trade Fields or Lawrence in a super flex. That doesn't seem like
no.
Stockpile
those are pieces to build around, not pieces to trade away.
Yes.
Right? I mean, we don't want to do that.
Yeah. Don't trade those guys.
Unless you're getting 101 and something massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, you better be getting that. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
At least more. All right. How much of Pickett's yards per attempt, low volume, and low TD rate is him versus Matt Canada?
Oh man, I'm in a group chat. All my friends are Steelers fans. I'm in a group chat with them every Steelers game. There's Matt Canada memes. There's everything going on. Dude just does not know how to run an NFL offense. It shows every week. George Pickens makes an incredible catch, and then you see his stat line. It's like, oh, that was like his only catch of the game.
You know who can relate?
They need to fire him
A
and get somebody
Patriots
else.
fan.
Sorry. If it makes you feel better, the Patriots have less offensive talent than the Steelers do.
They do.
Yeah, you're right, but we also are very incompetent at running an offense.
Hey, guess what?
Yeah.
Guess what the thing in common is? Both have the first name of Matt. Matt Patricia.
And also what they both have in common is they're not as good as the Eagles. So.
And they both can somehow sneak into the playoffs.
How do you hire Matt Patricia as an offensive coordinator?
I don't understand. That was one of the worst hirings I've seen in a long time. That was so bad.
It really is. But yeah,
Mac Jones hates it too. Like it's very clear that they hate each other.
Mm-hmm.
Mac Jones is so dirty. He's such a dirty player, dude. I don't like him.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
Someone put a big video out of all his dirty plays. It is so bad.
It's a pretty hefty compilation. But
yes.
As for this question, like I think it's a lot. Like
yeah, I think it is. I think if you bring a real offensive mind in here, I think Kenny Pickett can actually do some work.
You know, I have to be my friend who's a Steelers fan that I was just talking about went to Pitt, so you know naturally I have to be a troll when he's talking about Kenny Pickett because like
Of course.
yeah, you gotta fill the role. You know, he went there, he was a big fan. You know, but he made some NFL caliber throws last night. He really did. Like he stepped up in the clutch.
Yeah, that one to Najee for the game winner. That was a nice throw. He made he's done that all year. He's made some really good throws all year long. He's had a few moments where it's like, oh shoot, this guy's legit. Like this guy can really play. And he's had like some good work. Like he's on the run, on the move, he's scrambling, moving outside the pocket. Like he's looked good this year in different moments. And I'm so excited for his second season. I actually think with a real offensive coordinator that he could play really well. For fantasy, I don't know how it's going to work out because with 3 receivers and a running back out of the backfield who can catch passes, it could be tough, but I think he's actually going to be good at win this team some games.
Yeah. I definitely want to believe that it's less him and more Matt Canada.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, I mean, he's shown some flashes, like we've said, you know, he's those incredible George Pickens catches, like most of them have been from Pickett and not Mitch. And it's just like, he's the one that got the, you know, the first round draft capital as opposed to, you know, everyone else in this class. So, you know, I really do want to believe it. And I would really like to see them, like you said, bring someone in that knows how to really run an NFL offense. And
yeah, seriously,
they have the weapons, like you said, like they have 3 talented pass catchers. They have Najee and Jalen Warren. Obviously, you know, he's come out and been a great little counterpunch with Najee. So,
yeah, it's weird to see them finally using a committee for a backfield a little bit, right? It's been interesting because like that's not a Mike Tomlin thing.
All right, I have a question for you both. What are the odds that Matt Canada gets fired if the Steelers make the playoffs week 18?
Those odds, I think those odds are so low. If they make the playoffs, like it's hard to fire him.
It's tough. But I think if you poll Steelers fans, they'd rather just lose this game and get him fired.
Yes, exactly. 100%.
Right? Like,
If you put out a poll, would you rather make the playoffs and have Matt Canada still be your OC for the next few years, or lose this game and have him fired this offseason? Everyone would choose.
I think, yeah. So
I'd want
a
him
tough
fired
spot
too.
to be in.
He's so bad.
It's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, I would want him. I think if they make the playoffs this year, I think it's under 50% chance that he gets fired.
That's tough.
Not
Which
good.
is not good. I don't like those odds. But
I mean,
it's hard. You made the playoffs, and Kenny Pickett played well.
Mike Tomlin's been talking him up, like he's not going to get fired. But there's been reports in the building that he's going to get fired, and you just don't know what's going to happen. That might create a buy window for Kenny Pickett, if I'm being quite honest here.
It really could.
Because if Matt Canada's hanging around for year 2 of a quarterback's development, like that can mess some things up.
If he doesn't get fired this year, I think we might see a Kenny Pickett disappointment next year, and then he'll get fired, and that'll be it for Matt Canada.
Hopefully.
I really hope they just do it this year, bring in a new real offensive coordinator, not Matt Patricia. And then
the Steelers always seem to have this problem, at least as far as I can remember, back to the AB days, the Le'Veon Bell days. Like Todd Haley was, I know they were saying the same things about him. So maybe it's a problem with the higher ups, and people don't want to realize that it's a Mike Tomlin problem.
Yeah, it could be.
I think he needs to start over, but let's get into this. I will save this one for when Tyler gets back, 'cause I do not remember the Deontay trade he made.
Yeah, we'll bring it back.
Yeah.
But 12-team Superflex PPR, Waddle or 105 and Hollywood Brown.
Oh man, here's the thing, because I think because 2023 for the Cardinals, I know there's been reports saying Kyler's doing really well. I don't 100% believe that. I think 2023 might be a bit of a throwaway year for the Cardinals. To be honest, do you guys agree with that? I don't know if Kyler's going to be fully healthy coming in. I think it's going to be a bit of a lost year, especially with J.J. Watt now retiring. They're going to lose him. Like they are set up for not a great season next year.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's one of those things where he's definitely going to be less effective on the ground, like as a rusher.
Yes.
And whether that means that he'll be more effective as a pocket presence and getting the ball out, we'll see. But I do think he's definitely one of the better like passers when it comes to like being that mobile quarterback. So we'll see. I mean, maybe the fact is he's not going to want to scramble as much, less design run plays, and all of a sudden he's, he can actually come close to, 4,000, 5,000 yards or something. That's maybe a stretch, but we never know. But
yeah,
I
think this is not enough for Waddle.
Really?
I don't think this is enough. I think I want Waddle. I'm very concerned for next year for the Cardinals. And I don't know. I'm not the biggest. I've never been I'm not the biggest Kyler fan. Like I don't think he's an excellent quarterback.
You're not. You're looking at it from a real life perspective, not a fantasy perspective.
Yes.
I tend to agree with you a little bit. Like fantasy is amazing.
Great, but Kyler, I think like when you look at him compared to like the elite quarterbacks, I think he's at the bottom.
The most important thing is that these headphones really like do a number on my hair.
Yeah. I don't think this is enough for Waddle. I think I want Waddle here.
I agree. I want Waddle. I do love this class, but Waddle's just him,
Jalen Waddle is him.
I'll take Waddle. Pretty easily.
Tyreek Hill is not going to live forever. Tyreek Hill is going to be 29. Wait, when is he turning?
You know what, Hutch? I think actually I am going to live forever. I've decided. I've made a big decision. You said Tyreek Hill's not going to live forever. I think he should follow in my footsteps and live forever. We'll have to go. We'll take a trip to the Fountain of Youth together.
I was about to say, did you find that?
Yeah, I know where it is. I'm not going to share it with you. You're already looking enough. You don't even know.
He'll turn 29. He'll turn 29 in March, which is interesting. Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, when you see wide receivers, speed is usually one of the first things to go.
Deshaun Jackson's still pretty fast.
He is. I don't know how long Tyreek Hill has in the NFL as an elite.
You make it sound like he's dying.
No,
You make it sound like he's I don't know how long Tyreek Hill has. Like
no, in the NFL,
like, you make it sound like he's dying, bro.
Yeah, no.
Like any day now.
Any day. Yeah, I mean,
But so what?
He has an elite talent. I just don't think. I don't think he's gonna have like a 4-year, like 3-4 years. I think it's gonna be like 1 or 2
so
more.
what's he gonna be doing in 3 or 4 years?
Retiring, being behind Jalen Waddle.
Retiring? I don't think
He'll
Tyreek
be
Hill's
behind
retiring
Jalen
anytime
Waddle.
soon.
I think he'll be behind Jalen Waddle within the next 2 years.
I mean, I don't know. He has 120 million reasons not to retire anytime soon.
Yes.
Sounds like a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
I think he'll be behind Jalen Waddle in this offense within the next 2 years.
Yeah. So it was Deontay Johnson for Elijah Moore, and in 24 seconds, so it didn't work out so well. But I think in 2024, I think the 24 seconds.
You got to make that second count.
Might be
Gotta
the
make
worst.
that-
Might be the
Oh,
best
man.
part of that deal. It's been a disaster, though. I mean, I mean, those two assets have just. I don't know who's lost more value.
I think Elijah Moore. I still believe, even after all of this, I still believe Elijah Moore is a very talented player. If you give him the ball, he can do. If you give him the ball, he can do something. Give him.
He hasn't done. He didn't even do anything with Mike White.
Yeah, he's just. I don't get it. I think you got to get him the ball. He'll do something. I feel like a new quarterback could do that for him.
That one is very odd to me. I really don't get it.
Yeah, he's like, he did everything you want him to do in his first year. Like he showed massive flashes. He proved that he can be a number 1 receiver, and he did everything right in his rookie year. Like he showed that, man, like the second year was looking great, and they brought in Garrett Wilson, who's a rookie. Like rookie wide receivers don't always tend to work out super, super well. So Elijah Moore could be big, and then like they don't even throw him the ball.
Yeah, they just don't get him involved.
It's not like Garrett Wilson's been like a 1,500-yard wide receiver. I mean, he's been good this year, very good. He's over 1,000 yards, but it's not like he's been insane. So I don't know why Elijah Moore can't.
He has been insane.
involved.
If you look at the splits with Mike White, he
Oh,
has
yeah,
been, he has been insane.
1,000 yards. No, he's not. But he's insane with Mike White. Not last week, though.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think the little outburst thing at the beginning of the year just like kind of hampered the entire rest of the year at that point. Like it was I know they didn't end up trading him or whatever, and they salvaged the relationship and he's still there, but something's not gonna be the same when you go out and you're like, F this, like give me the damn ball. Like, so
yeah,
especially when your team's winning. That was the funniest part, like they're winning, they rattle off a bunch of wins in a row, and he's like very pissed. And it's like, and the team was like, all right, like we'll keep you around because we see you're talented, but like that was dumb of you. Like,
I feel like his fantasy relevant career with the Jets could be done at this point.
It's over. Yeah. Elijah Moore's fantasy relevant career with the Jets is over.
Yeah, I think
he's not going to be fantasy relevant on the Jets. Not with
this. He's traded this offseason.
Not with this head coach. No, this head coach is done with Elijah. Robert Saleh is done with Elijah Moore.
Do you think
he doesn't want Elijah Moore? He wants to get rid of him. He wants him out.
And I don't 100% blame him either, because the Jets were winning games and he was still complaining, and like it's
yeah, but you know how it is. Not everyone in life is a team player.
Secure the bag.
Yeah,
that's right.
I don't know. I get it. Like, I get it. I have a little bit of that in me too. We know that. I can be that kind of person. Like, I get it. I get it. Like, I get that. Sometimes there are activities, there are a team activity, but as there's also an individual component, and I get it. I can be like that. So I totally understand this point of view. I wish you were playing better when you complained, though. I will say. 101 or CeeDee Lamb in the 110? It's a good question. It's a good question. Wow. Do you think?
That's great. That's
great.
I
think I would lean. Lamb has been excellent. Excellent.
I think I'd
lean toward Lamb in the 110.
Yeah, it's
because I don't think Lamb and Bijan Robinson are that far off. I don't think they're the 110 off. The 110 is going to be a good player. I don't think they're that far apart. They're going to be in the same tier for me value-wise. So I think I'm going to have to go with Lamb.
In terms of like a dynasty startup, I definitely do think like they're in a similar.
Lamb and Bijan are decided by like a hair for me.
I think it'll be by a hair, but
I could draft like if you go bring me in a startup mock today and tomorrow, I could draft CeeDee Lamb over Bijan one and Bijan over CeeDee in another. Like they're like right there for me. So the 110 it makes it CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah,
by good about 110 value.
I mean, I wonder like what is the best realistic landing spot for Bijan Robinson?
The Eagles.
The Eagles.
The Eagles.
If Miles Sanders gets moved, as long as Miles Sanders gets moved, I think the Eagles.
I'm not sure. So maybe okay. Well, why don't you explain it to me then? Why are the Eagles such a good landing spot?
I mean, the offense is
because
fantastic.
he's an Eagles fan.
No, watch.
No, explain it to me. I'm very curious. I really want to know.
I mean, just watch what Miles Sanders has done this year. I mean, he's been fantastic this year, and this offense is great. A lot of weapons. Yeah,
I don't know if I would say he's been fantastic.
Yeah, Bijan's
He's a Pro Bowler over CMC.
Yeah. I mean,
wow, Miles Sanders has been a lot. Miles Sanders has been a lot better than I thought this year.
Yeah, he's been excellent this year.
Yeah, no, he sneaky has over 1,000 and like it's. I think it's just because the last 2 weeks he's.
I think it's just because people don't like Miles Sanders.
He's dudded in the playoffs.
The only problem with Bijan Philly would be the pass catching upside because obviously you have Dallas Goedert, you have Devontae Smith, you have AJ Brown, and when you look at this offense, Jalen Hurts, when he sees pressure, he's running the football. He's not usually dumping off. So Bijan pass catching upside would be tough. But I mean, Miami would also be great. Tua is not a running.
Well, Miami's not realistic though.
But yeah, also not super. I mean, if somehow they were to get a pick high enough to get Bijan, I think Miami would be the dream. I mean, good offense, quarterback who can't really run, offensive line solid, still growing. I think that'd be a great landing spot. But yes,
you know what would be very interesting if he went to Chicago.
Ooh. Monty.
Could you imagine?
Right?
Could you imagine having to stop that rushing offense?
Just RPO every single. that would be unreal.
I don't know how good it would be.
This is the part that's killer, though.
He'd be pretty good. He'd be pretty good.
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
No.
How would you? Let's put you. You're going to now be a defensive coordinator. That's what we're going to do. We're going to put you as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Well, tell me how you're going. What your scheme? What is your plan?
Well, you can say that with the Eagles too. You can say that.
I agree with you. You could say that with the Eagles. I'm just saying that I don't know if the Eagles are gonna. What if it's what if the Bears trade down a few spots from 2, pick up some extra picks, and then pick Bijan Robinson ahead of the Eagles? What if that happens? What if he's not there?
I don't think. I feel like that'd be such a bad move for them to make right now.
Oh, you're saying? Oh, come on. You're saying that.
But
it's not going to happen because the Bears are not going to make a bad move.
But the Bears,
let's review that again.
It'd be an awful. It's
totally gonna happen. The Bears are like wildly incompetent. They traded a second-round pick for Chase Claypool, who's done nothing at all.
Okay, I think Tony Pollard to the Bears is more a higher probability than Bijan to the Bears. Do you see how much cap space the Bears have?
I see how much cap space they have. But
they're gonna spend it.
Why wouldn't they just re-sign David Montgomery then? Tony Pollard, they're gonna spend I think Tony Pollard's gonna cost like 10 or 11 million a year.
Pollard's gonna go, after what he's done this year, he's gonna go for a lot.
Yeah, I don't think that they can. To be honest with you, I don't think they can. I mean, they can, yes, technically, can they afford it? Yes. Is it the best use of their assets? I don't think so. I don't
Jacobs
think
in Chicago. Like I feel like that's more realistic too.
Josh Jacobs. I mean. Again, could they technically afford it? Yes.
Josh Jacobs is a free agent this offseason, right?
Yeah,
he is a free agent. Yes.
Josh Jacobs, though, I think is a different level of play.
What if Miami signed Josh Jacobs?
Because what impresses me about that would be interesting. What impresses me about Josh Jacobs is he's had all this success on kind of a bad team. If you put Miles Sanders on a bad team, I don't think he would be very good. I don't think Miles Sanders is actually very good. I think anyone could. I think if you put Jeff Wilson in Miles Sanders' role, he'd be almost 95% of what Miles Sanders has done. I really don't think Miles Sanders is good.
I don't think I agree. I think
I can tell you one thing: if you put
Miles Sanders
David Montgomery and Miles Sanders, they would be much better. David Montgomery is better than Miles Sanders. You put David Montgomery there, he'd be better. I really think Miles Sanders is not it. So I guess from that perspective, then Bijan Robinson would be really good there. Because if Miles Sanders, who I think is really average, has done a lot with this role, then, we know Bijan Robinson is workhorse.
Where do we want Bijan not to go? I feel like that's
not to go.
That's the better question than where we want.
I mean, I think he'd be fine anywhere. I mean, Carolina.
I think because the thing is, if you're going to take this high of a pick of a running back in your NFL draft, you're going to make sure that you're using him and you're using him like he should be used. At least that's what at least a competent organization would do.
I mean, I don't think he's going to get. I mean, I don't know. How far could he even fall? Like, I don't think he's.
I'm going to throw one team out there that I think would not be a fantastic fit, even though the rushing game has been good. I don't want him to go to Atlanta.
I agree. I don't know. I don't love Atlanta either. I think that their offense is a disaster. I mean, they're probably not getting much better next year because
I do think this is like Saquon Barkley, though. It's not going to matter.
You know how hard
a little bit, yeah.
It's not going to matter. He's still 101. I'm not saying he's not still 101. I'm just saying where we don't want him to go. Like he's still unanimous, no matter what happens at this rate.
Right, Ryan, can you even imagine how much people would just
tilt. Absolutely
just
tilt.
thinking about that Bijan, Pitts, London, Ritter,
and Olamide Zaccheaus getting
like
10 targets a game.
Yeah. I do think people would just love it, though, if like somehow he ended up. It's not going to happen, but if somehow he ended up on like Kansas City.
Oh,
somehow. Like that would just be
Kansas City.
They could right their wrong. They could right their wrong. They missed out on Jonathan Taylor. They had the opportunity. They could right their wrong by fixing it.
How do you stop that?
It's impossible. You can't stop anything.
I don't know. I think Bijan Robinson, is going to be picked in the top 20.
Very likely.
I was going to say, 20 is the latest I possibly.
If the Chiefs, hypothetically,
no way. If
the Chiefs win the Super Bowl and want to use a super luxury pick and trade up after Bijan falls a little bit, it could happen.
Why not? Why not? Right? I think that's interesting.
I mean, he could always,
I think his height
on Kansas City
has gotten so high.
I do have a bad feeling that he's going to end up on Houston.
Yeah,
I think Houston goes quarterback, wide receiver at this point.
They do need a wide receiver.
The class is heavy at the top, so like they'll have options no matter who goes.
I mean, not every landing spot is good.
Coming back.
There are some landing spots that are bad, but not bad
because of how good he is, though. Like
it's not going to matter.
No spot is going to be so bad that he's even in consideration.
Probably the worst landing spot is actually Vegas. Like, because they're going to be so bad next year
they'd have to
without Derek Carr.
They'd probably have to spend a top 5 pick, and like at that rate.
Yeah, Vegas.
Actually, never mind. Never mind. It's the Raiders. Carry on.
Yeah, carry on.
They somehow like cut him before he even reaches his 3rd year.
We'll have to see. I don't know. He's going to be an early pick. It's going to be exciting. I think people are going to be excited for Bijan Robinson wherever he goes.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like going back to that question though. Could you it's so hard to like tank all year and you lock down that 101 and you're like Bijan, and then you get this offer and you're like,
I did it last year.
Well, shit.
I did it last year. I tanked all year in 2021 for the 101. Mm-hmm. Would have been Breece Hall, and then I traded it away a couple days before the draft for Trevor Lawrence plus, and I think that's worked out very, very well. So I'm not unhappy.
It feels different though. It feels like people are gonna hold their quarterbacks because like comparing the quarterback landscape to last year, it feels like there was more options last year.
I've always been a Trevor Lawrence truther though.
Of course, but I'm talking more like options that people like want on their teams. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I feel you.
Derek Carr.
It was way easier to trade some of the mystery quarterbacks. Like Trevor Lawrence obviously had a horrible season. Zach Wilson, some people at least trying to talk themselves into maybe he shows something. Like a couple guys like that. Now we know. Like, all right, exactly. Now we know. It's like.
Unfortunately, I gotta hop out. Unfortunately, guys, I gotta hop out. But thank you, Tyler, again for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem.
This was great, guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Follow this guy.
Have a good one.
I got my finger right this time.
Yes.
Follow this guy.
Got it. You got it.
Not fool me today. New year, new directions, I guess.
New year too, right?
Yes, and listen to Hutch's podcast.
Yes.
Called Hutchinson Brown's Fantasy Football Perspective. Anywhere you get your podcasts. Goodbye, everybody.
Peace out.
See.
Oh,
Now it's too spacious down here.
yeah. When you were saying you used your fingers correctly, I was like, oh boy, do I have a joke there. I'll spare you. I'll spare you. No, it doesn't stick, Ryan. How do I fix that?
Let me fix it. Let me fix it. Okay, now
you
do
use
it.
your fingers
Now
to
do
do
it.
something. I get it.
Now do it.
I'm here all day. What is this setting? What is this setting?
It's in general. It's the shift videos up or whatever.
Now you tell me.
Hey man, I just want it to be useful. You needed my added value. I couldn't tell you, you know.
If any of my friends from real life are listening, this reminds me of whenever I play board games with my friends. Whenever they don't explain, whenever we have a new game, if I don't win, I always say that first of all that the game was rigged, and secondly that they didn't explain the rules. I'm always like, well, you didn't explain that. If you had explained it, I would have won. But because you didn't explain it, then you totally cheated. So you can see where my personality carries over
I need
everything,
around,
not just fantasy football. This is really who I am. If anything, I'm nicer on the show than I am in real life. I think I'm meaner among my friend group. Yeah, I want to see Kyler without Cliff. Well, I want to see the NFL without Cliff.
Okay.
But we can't always have what we want, right, Jesse?
Can we talk about how Cliff Kingsbury had Patrick Mahomes, and I know Patrick Mahomes was raw coming out, but he did absolutely nothing for that man.
Nothing at all. Yeah.
Mahomes did everything for him.
Mahomes did everything for himself, and then he got Andy Reid.
But I'm saying Mahomes is basically the reason Cliff is thought of to be somewhat good. It's look, he had Mahomes in college. It's like
Mahomes would be one-on-one with a competent OC, a competent head coach. Writing was on the wall.
Frank,
why? Why? Why would it be good? What would be good about it?
I do think Frank Wright, the OC, is significantly better than Frank Reich, the head coach. I do think he doesn't have the just that part in him, but I think we've seen him somewhat deliver in more of that specialized role. I don't know if they met as a head coach for the Steelers. That would mean, some big changes.
No, I don't think they mean as head coach.
As Canada's replacement, right?
Yeah, they mean
as
coordinator.
I don't see how that would be worse, honestly.
I don't know. His record as an offense coordinator is really not so good. It's really not so good. He was he had that little window as offensive coordinator of the Eagles, and that was good. But he also had his tenure as offensive coordinator of the San Diego Chargers back then, and it really wasn't so good. And then he was fired. He was fired because his offense was was not able to run the ball, wasn't able to move the ball effectively at all. So he actually wasn't so good. And then, in Indianapolis, his offense was really wasn't so good. It consistently seemed to perform under par to underperform expectations. So I don't think it was so good. So I don't know why, he's riding on that Eagles success from, 6 years ago. That's a long time ago. I don't want to hear about 6 years ago. What does 6 years ago do for you? Well, what about 6 years ago? Why is 6 years ago? What does that do for me now? So I don't think it would be so good. Alleged quarterback guru Frank Reich has been so excellent. Let's not forget, Frank Reich approved the acquisition of Carson Wentz. That's what he did.
Boy.
He said that. Well, he did say that. He said that.
I know. I'm just saying. Here we go.
But he did say it. He said that he would turn Carson Wentz around. He said that. And did Carson Wentz turn it around? No, Carson Wentz did not turn it around. Then this year, he said, Matt Ryan has not had any drop off. He looks excellent. Great job. As the Falcons starting quarterback, he is going to lead us to the playoffs. I don't think so. I don't think he led them to any playoffs. So actually, he didn't lead them to the playoffs. And then he was unceremoniously fired for approving all of these acquisitions. So actually, it wasn't so good. His track record is actually not so good. So I don't think it would be very good. I don't know why I would want him to be the offensive coordinator. I think it would actually be a bad thing.
I'd say try to find an up-and-coming QB coach.
Well, I think there are other people who should have a chance. I think he's had enough chances. I'm tired of failure. It's a lot of failure.
That's fair.
I'm just saying they should find someone that has developed quarterbacks in the past. Like I'm trying to think of names, but like all of the quarterbacks like that they got credit for, like Brian Dable's already head coach, stuff like that. Doug Peterson is head coach in Jacksonville, which probably gets credit for Trevor's development, not the QB coach or offensive coordinator. So like I'm trying to figure out where you could grab one of these guys, but like an unknown kind of commodity. Take a chance. Like don't hire within, like the Steelers usually do, and hopefully it goes the right way for Kenny Pickett.
It could be better. There's room for improvement.
I mean, of course, there's room for improvement. Matt Canada is like
not it.
The worst coach in the league, no matter like offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, head coach. Like I feel like he is the bottom.
Well, yeah. I mean, now that Urban Meyer is gone, Nathaniel Hackett is gone too.
I told my group chat that I talked up Kenny Pickett, and my friend sent me a Kenny Pickett apology form. So like,
yeah. Well, actually, the thing that Matt Canada should really be apologizing for is how he's utilized his offensive weapons. It really has been very poor. They've somehow turned Deontay Johnson into even more of a line of scrimmage wide receiver than he was last year. Somehow it's been even worse. So it really. The other thing he should be apologizing for is the poor play. We can blame him. Wasn't he the offensive line coach before wasn't he an offensive line coach before he was an offensive coordinator? Wasn't at some point? I mean, didn't he coach the offensive line?
I want to say you're correct. I want to look for where though, because
he was a quarterbacks coach. Who was the offensive line coach? Where did he? So he was a quarterbacks coach.
Oh,
well, who's that? Well, he hired his offensive staff, and whoever he hired to coach the offensive line has not been so good. But we could talk about the quarterback coaching. Oh, I don't want him as the offensive coordinator. I mean, Frank Reich, he's not been good in any coaching capacity since that 1 year. One good year in Philadelphia was good. But other than that, it actually wasn't so good. It wasn't so good. It wasn't so good in 2016 in Philadelphia. It wasn't good during his time at the Chargers. And then in Indianapolis, it's been failure after failure after failure after failure. So I don't want any more failure.
I think this is just
not been so good.
Compared to Matt Canada.
Well, sure. But this coffee cup would do better than Matt Canada because this coffee cup wouldn't call any bad plays. The problem is if you just let the offense run whatever, it would be better than the bullshit that Matt Canada is calling. And, there are many problems. So I think.
Okay, hold on. I've been looking at Matt Canada's Wikipedia page, and I think
he was a quarterbacks coach. That's what it says here.
Yeah, he was a quarterbacks coach, but no, never mind. He was a
quarterbacks coach, but he didn't coach any good quarterbacks. So it doesn't say anything about.
He was the LSU's offensive coordinator in 2017. I thought in 2018, like.
Yeah, so no. That was
Joe Burrow didn't break out. Joe Burrow broke out in 2019, had his down year kind of.
Oh, he didn't actually coach any good quarterbacks.
No.
I don't know. He doesn't seem to know anything about quarterbacks.
Did he coach Russell Wilson?
No, that was the year before.
Okay. I was just off with my years here.
It's funny how good players seem to disappear whenever he's around. I don't know. That might be a coincidence. It seems kind of odd. No good players don't want to play with him. So I don't know about that. I think they should look in a different direction.
They have to. You have to. If I am Steelers ownership and Mike Tomlin does not make the decision on Matt Canada and decides to keep him around, I fire Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
You have to. You have to. Or
Mike
your franchise
Tomlin's done
is in
a
the
pretty
gutter
good job
for the next
this year,
5-10
considering
years.
how bad the talent on the team is.
The talent of the team's not the issue, though.
Maybe Mike Tomlin should call the plays. It can't be worse. It can't be worse. There is no worse. You could call the plays better.
Me how bad Matt Canada misuses his talent. I was sitting there last night. I'm a daily fantasy player. I played Pat Fryermuth, and I was just yelling at the TV the whole time. Like, they did not scheme him up well at all. He doesn't know how to do it.
Well, then they should fire him and replace him with someone who can. That's what you do. When you have someone who can't perform, you fire them and replace them with someone who can.
It's just so bad how much talent they're wasting there. Pickens is
Well-
amazing. Freiermuth's amazing. Deontay, we all had high hopes for
Amazing.
Deontay.
I don't know if I would say that, but these
I'd
are
say
good
George
players
Pickens.
that are wasting away.
They're definitely wasting away.
Oh man, could be worse. Could be worse.
Could always be worse.
Where does Jonathan Taylor land in your rankings in 2023 startups?
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Well, he could be higher. I mean, my rankings are on the Patreon. I haven't actually updated them in a while. But there's this where you can find that.
It's like, will the Colts fix themselves this offseason? Like, obviously the odds on favor to get Derek Carr right now. Obviously, you guys think Derek Carr is going to the Jets. Well, at least Tyler does. But it's one of those things. Like, how do you fix a team that has a GM who doesn't know how to draft priority positions? I said this before. I'll say it again. That man cannot draft priority positions to save his life. So they need a new GM.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't forget the GM was partially responsible for all of these other things.
Yeah.
For all
I'm
the
not
bad
forgetting
things
that.
that they did.
I'm just saying that he kind of probably gets a little bit of a leash because he hits those picks on positions that aren't important, but they still, they're still really good players, like Shaquille Leonard. Quentin Nelson was good, and he kind of fell off.
It's funny. We all criticize Ryan Grigson for being a horrible general manager, but then they brought in Chris Ballard, who's been just as bad.
He's been just as bad, but he hits those picks. I think he banked a lot off of the Sam Darnold trade where he traded back, took Quentin Nelson, took Shaquille Leonard with one of those picks, and I think he's been riding up the coattails of that success ever since. Like, what has he done?
Well, now it's time for him to be fired. That's what I think they should do.
What has he done since for that team?
Nothing.
That's my question.
Nothing.
He drafted
he's
Jonathan
drafted.
Taylor.
Okay,
That's
to be
about-
fair,
that's
his
about it.
draft
Michael
in
Pittman?
2020 was pretty good. He drafted Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman in the second round. That was a pretty successful draft.
Yeah, that's it. Michael Pittman doesn't have a quarterback that get on the ball, and Jonathan Taylor doesn't have basically like an online run run. So, like, what does it matter?
Okay, but in all seriousness, I have him. I mean, Bijan is RB1, Hall 2, Walker 3, Taylor 4. That's how I have it.
I can get behind that.
What about Waddle in the 109 or 110, depending on tonight's results for Bijan? Well, that's more interesting.
Interesting, but no.
Interesting, but still no. Still too much.
You're weak at running back. You want to fill the need, and Bijan clearly fills the need and some.
But if you're that weak, then I'm probably not doing this kind of trade.
Yeah, but if you're, it depends what his quarterback room looks like with a wide receiver core like that.
I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this.
I'm not doing it either, but I'm just saying, like, if your quarterbacks are good and your wide receivers are this good,
Jalen Waddle has so much upside.
okay. Maybe I was over calculating the wide receiver core a little bit because he
Do you
slashed
realize how
he
good
slashed DK
Jalen
and
Waddle has
Metcalf.
been?
So I got kind of confused there.
Jalen Waddle has completely reinvented himself this year.
Helps when you learn from someone like Tyreek Hill.
He's been really damn good.
Oh, he's
Trade the
Pittman.
202 for Tony Pollard. I feel like this is an unequivocal yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Tony-
Tony Pollard for me is probably a sell, but this is not my selling price.
No. If you get I'd sell for 107.
Is he really a sell? I mean, it's tough. What can you get for Tony Pollard?
Probably this. Probably a little more.
Well, I'm not taking this.
I'm
I think
not
for Tony Pollard. If I have Tony Pollard, I'm probably looking to go to a different position, and probably it's wide receiver. And I'm probably looking at, could you get Devonta Smith for Tony Pollard, or do you think we're past that point of that being realistic?
Pass. I think you're past.
Past that point. What about
I think the team
Michael
needs.
Pittman?
I think there's team needs would play a part if someone's
I
got
think
a
that
ton
might
of
be a
receivers.
little optimistic, though. What about Michael Pittman?
I'm
You
gonna
think he could do
try.
that. Michael Pittman, I think you might be able to do. People forget how old Tony Pollard is. That's one thing I think people forget, but is going to become very well known this offseason. Tony Pollard is already 25 and turns 26 in like a month. Tony Pollard is not a young running back.
I think the intrigue is there because he doesn't have all the work, all the touches that, a normal 26-year-old getting out of his rookie contract would have.
Yeah,
and
but that doesn't really
I think it does, though, because some of these running backs, that there's like basically a certain point where once you've hit that 1,000 touches or whatever it is, that's when it's almost always they're declining. And
people said that about Tevin Coleman too, and it didn't work out.
Yeah,
Tevin Coleman was great. No, but he was every time he came in, he was great. He was great, and then he would hit free agency. He was supposed to hit free agency and succeed, and he didn't do anything. People said that about Jerick McKinnon, too. When he signed with the 49ers in free agency, he was great when he filled in as a fill-in, and then he got a big contract, and then he totally didn't deliver.
Maybe that
delivering
was a 49ers
now,
problem.
4 years later.
Might have been a 49ers problem. That was both of them, right?
Well, I don't think it was Jerick McKinnon didn't play because he got hurt.
I think Tevin Coleman also was hurt a bunch of that first year when they signed him. But
it doesn't always work out, though. So if I could trade,
I agree. I thought
for an asset that's more stable, I think I would.
That's I have Tony Pollard in one of my main dynasty leagues, and I wouldn't trade it away trade him away for this 202.
No, I want more than that.
But what Ryan said earlier, 107, I would do that in a heartbeat.
I would do that. Yeah. What about like I said, I would trade him for
somewhere in the middle of that.
I would trade him for Pittman if I could.
I'm worried. I might send. Yeah. I'm going to send that Smith. I'm going to send that one out.
I think Smith is not realistic.
Some point.
The worst I could say is no, though.
That's what I'm saying. Especially knowing that team needs some more help at running back. That's why I was like, if teams are desperate and they have that wide receiver depth, if Devontae Smith is your 6th wide receiver, then you're more likely to trade him away for Pollard.
Maybe people are under the belief that Tony Pollard is going to get the big contract and become a workhorse this offseason. Like there's probably some sort of sell window in some leagues. I think it depends on the league.
I will say, though, of the other names listed here, Rachaad White, we did have some dynasty buys. I didn't put Rachaad White on there, but he was someone I was actually considering mentioning as a dynasty buy. He's been a little bit off the radar. And I do think the talent's there.
I think the buy window opens when Brady leaves.
I think the buy window's already open.
It's already, yeah. I feel like
he didn't deliver in the fantasy playoffs at all.
You didn't want to. You probably overpaid if you bought him 6 weeks ago when he was really crushing it. But at this point, he's kind of cooled off a little bit. So
he did return to a committee this week. They returned to splitting the work, basically dead even.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, Kareem Hunt is cooked. Kareem Hunt is finished. He's been horrible all year. Absolutely horrible. And it's Kareem Hunt because Nick Chubb has run just fine on the same team. It's Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is cooked, washed, finished. I don't want Kareem Hunt. He's not getting a starting job next year. He's lucky if he gets a job. He's been horrible. I don't think people realize just how bad Kareem Hunt has been this year. I mean, we're talking terrible. I mean, here's the last 4 games for Kareem Hunt. 4 carries for 6 yards, 4 for 24, 7 for 8, 2 for 0. This year, he's averaging 3.9 a carry. He has 7.4 carries per game. He's been bad and hasn't been used. He's been bad in a limited role. He's bad. Kareem Hunt is washed. He's done. You don't want him. I think I'm looking at my dynasty rankings. I don't understand why Kareem Hunt needs to go down even more. He's still too high.
I do not remember his week 1. He had a 25-point RB4 week 1. What?
Yes,
I don't even remember.
One good game he had.
I know, and it was so
it
far
seems
back.
like it's an eternity ago, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's just,
it was.
I really do think Kareem Hunt is just finished. I think there's no. I'm not sure. Will he get employment next year? Probably. Will he play a relevant role? That's up in the air. Will he be fantasy relevant? Certainly not without an injury.
Send him to Denver on a 1-year deal.
It's the kind of place he might go. It's the kind of thing where he goes to Denver. They have someone else. They have him, Javonte, and someone else. During the year, at the beginning of the year, he begins in a timeshare. Then if Javonte becomes ready, comes back, Javonte takes the number 1, pushes Hunt to the number 3. That's the kind of place he's going to sign. He's not signing as someone who you're intending to give a serious role because he was not a serious player this year. He was awful. And he's been awful since week 1. I mean, week 1's the only relevant week, isn't it? Has he had a relevant week since? I don't think so.
He had one 16-point week where he was the RB20, and that's the second best week he had. And that was also in the first 5 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
So it looks like the first 5 weeks he was probably a top 24 running back in that.
Yeah,
span.
and he's been abysmal since.
He's given you 0 top 20 finishes.
He also has 2 catches a game. He hasn't done anything in the receiving game. He hasn't done anything.
No, yeah, I'm very with you.
And it's a Kareem Hunt problem because Nick Chubb is averaging 5 a carry on this very team.
Yeah, no, I mean we know.
So the problem is with
great.
Kareem Hunt specifically. JT could end up being a value pick in redraft. Yeah. So let's talk about injury. Talk about an injury. When it comes to an injury, I'm pretty in generally on the injury discount for guys that were injured and are healthy going into the next year. Generally, it depends. It depends on how many years it's been, how they looked when they played. Like,
and
I was
the injury
out.
probably too, right?
Well,
it
depends on the injury.
like this is an ankle thing as opposed to like a torn ACL.
JT's not going to be injured in July. He's not still going to be injured.
Yeah, I'm saying.
So that's what I'm saying. It's. I don't care about an injury that happened and is in the past.
Yeah,
the one thing that scares me is when someone gets hurt and then they start to play bad. Yes, you have your Saquon Barkley, but that's the anomaly. That's the anomaly of someone who gets hurt and starts to play bad. You also have to be able to tell the difference between Christian McCaffrey and other injury situations. Because Christian McCaffrey was good every time he was on the field, but just missed time. And then, you have other players who suffered a loss of effectiveness due to their injuries. And then, weren't as good. That's a little bit of a different situation. You kind of have to, it depends on the situation. Every injury is different. Every player is different. So you do have to look into that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think people are discounting him right now for the injury as much as like just how the team is overall and just how much of a disaster the whole situation.
I think in redraft, we're going to have a lot of wide receivers at the top. Because really no running back you picked early is really paying off other than Christian McCaffrey.
That's definitely the big takeaway from the drafts this year.
But you're still, I know Justin Jefferson killed you this week, but you're still better off picking him.
Yeah.
Also, there were a lot of running backs that went early that have been a total disaster. I mean, DeAndre Swift went pretty early, and so did Najee Harris, and those have been a disaster. Not that they were horrible, but they killed you compared to other players that were available. Alvin Cook even was certainly not worth the early pick.
In redraft, he's still going to be what?
Alvin Kamara also kind of killed you if you picked him. I think we could see next year in redraft that there's like only a few running backs in the first round. Like if the first round were 7 wide receivers, 4 running backs, and Travis Kelce, I wouldn't be surprised. I do think Jonathan Taylor will be one of those, though. When it comes to running backs in the first round, I think Jonathan Taylor will be in there. Christian McCaffrey will be in there. And then we'll have to see. I mean, Saquon Barkley, it depends on the situation. Austin Eckler, we'll have to see. If it's full PPR, he'll probably be in there. But he kind of needs it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree where he's a first-round pick. It's just, we've come a little bit away from where he was basically like a consensus top 3 pick this year in, normal 1 QB. But next year, I definitely see him being the back end of that first round, like where I would rather have most of these receivers and a couple running backs now over him.
Yeah. Like, it's just the kind of thing where, like, running backs have scored a little bit more lately. They've closed the gap. But, like, the wide receiver, yeah, they've closed the gap. It's just if you miss at wide receiver, you're less like you're not likely to whiff on a first-round wide receiver is unlikely to be a total disaster.
Yeah.
Was there one this year? I don't think there was one this year.
There was what?
No.
A first-round whiff at wide receiver.
No.
Cooper
No,
Kupp
I mean,
would've been okay.
not a non-injury one, at least.
Yeah, I mean, the wide receivers who went in the first round were Diggs, Jefferson, Kupp, who was good before he got hurt. Kupp was second in fantasy points per game among wide receivers before he got hurt.
Chase was good before he got hurt.
Chase, who's been excellent. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 20 points per game. So yeah, Diggs, Chase, Kupp, and Jefferson were the ones I
Adams sometimes snuck in.
Devontae.
Adams was, but whether, I mean, he was kind of on the border. He was like 5th for most people, and he's been 4th in points per game, so he's been pretty good. Those were the 5 that I had seen in first rounds.
And even some
of the other guys who were ranked after that, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill, have all been.
So yeah,
they're the next ones.
That's I mean, I've seen it on Twitter a few times as well, but I think this is like a big year for people realizing like just that running back position. It's just so hard to just
The thing
predict
is that
and just
not many of the high running backs really killed you. I mean, Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, and Saquon Barkley have been good. But, like, Dalvin Cook, if you spent the pick on Dalvin Cook and passed on Justin Jefferson, you're really not happy right now.
Mm-hmm.
If Alvin Kamara. But, yeah,
I think
for now,
Kamara had a big discount because of his situation.
Still, though.
So,
but I think it's the kind of thing where, like, the running back 15 this year is averaging 14.3 points per game, whereas in PPR. Whereas the wide receiver 15 said 14.3 for the running back 15. The wide receiver 15 is, I mean, it's only 15.1. It's not that different. Last year, I feel like the edge was bigger, but it's more as you,
I think, is it the top end edge though? Like,
well, no, the difference is the top end wide receivers have caught up. The top player right now in fantasy overall is Austin Eckler, but Justin Jefferson is just a hair behind. It used to be that running backs were all the top players. But this year, there's 6 players who are above 20 points per game, and it's 3 of each. Or that's 4 of each. Or no. 5 wide receivers and 3 running backs are above 20 points a game. So it's that the upside to... It's not that the upside to taking a running back is less. You can get a difference-making player at wide receiver. Whereas in the past, it was commonplace for the workhorse running backs to be far and away ahead of the wide receivers. So the difference is the wide receivers have closed the gap and they're safer. Because there is no Najee Harris among the top wide receivers picked. Someone who just really doesn't deliver. We'll have to see, though. We'll have to see. We talked about this. Yeah. And then where would Pitts rank among the rookie QBs?
In 2-sided premium, ahead of them all.
Yeah, probably ahead of them.
You have to.
Ahead of them all.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we didn't really talk too much about the Dynasty buys. I did try to sprinkle it in. So you'll see that as we go. I'll have like a topic. It'll be kind of in the back of our heads. If the live chat is active like it was today, there were other things to talk about. We'll talk about it. Also, we'll focus on the topics more as the season closes. Today, we still have championship week, all that. But we'll have a topic kind of like today. There was buy players. So there'll be a topic, nominal topic. We will do a mock draft at some point. At some point, we're going to do a Dynasty startup mock. It'll be interesting, kind of get that going. I'll try to do those more often. And yeah, I agree with Jesse. Good luck to everyone tonight. I hope you guys win your fantasy titles.
Can I submit my bold prediction for tonight?
Yeah,
I have a super bold one. I think Jamar Chase and Stephon Diggs combined for 80+ PPR points. It's a duel. It's gonna be a legacy duel. and win so many chips.
Are you
tonight.
down by 80 and have Jamar
No.
Chase?
No. This is just a
No,
bold
I feel
prediction.
that.
This is off the top. This is what
So,
I just think it's
yeah.
gonna be one of those legendary duels.
I do think someone will have 25 plus, like 30 plus. Like I think someone, whether that's Chase, whether that's Gabe Davis, whether that's T Higgins, someone I think is going to have just an absolute explosion.
Someone's swinging the chips tonight. I don't know who it's going to be, but I think it's going to be one of those two.
I wanted to say one thing before we head out. Like, obviously, we talked about some of the dynasty buys. Like, if your league, you're in one of those leagues, dynasty, where you don't have any trade deadline or anything, definitely just inquire about some of these guys that really let people down in the last 2 weeks. Ramondre Stevenson's a name that comes to mind. So a lot of the rookies,
he's on our show sheet,
exactly.
yeah.
And then you mentioned Jameson Williams, not one that burned people, but didn't show as much as a lot of people were expecting, I think, at the end of the year. And then to that point, also just most of the rookie wide receivers. Obviously, Garrett Wilson disappointed. Olave got hurt a little bit, came back. He had an all right game, but he kind of fizzled out for the second stretch of the year. And so a lot of these guys, even, I saw the name Justin Jefferson on there. He put up the biggest stinker of his life. If that gives you even a 1% discount on him, go for it, So
yeah, the more realistic
just one of those
version,
things to check in on.
The more realistic version of Justin Jefferson is DK Metcalf, who also did nothing.
Yes,
and is probably actually acquirable.
Exactly. So just check in on those guys that that managers are pissed about, sad about, just burned by them. And even if it wasn't the playoffs, whatever, they're just looking at them, looking at the last few games, being like, uh-oh, like, maybe. And so if you can sneak in, get a little bit of a discount, just always helps to just kind of check in with some of those managers and just see where their head's at about some of these duds and some of these burns recently.
I saw his name on the show sheet too. Bye, Breece Hall.
Exactly. And see, some of the injured guys that you think will be back, hopefully close to 100% by beginning of the year, and it's gonna be fun to see how some of these guys go and some of their values shake up. But I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, let's all get excited. No Ask DLF this week. I honestly don't know when that show's coming back. It'll be back eventually. It's not anytime soon. But when it's coming back, I will let you know on here when I have a date when that show's going to return. For now, that show's on hiatus. As for this show, we'll be here every Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern for the foreseeable future. And I'm also going to be coming back as a writer for DLF. Potentially, that'll be a good way for me to get content out there without having to do these 2 very long live streams per week. Like I said, Ask DLF will be coming back probably in a different form at a different time. I'll let you know when that happens. Otherwise, we'll be here every week. And keep an eye out for those short videos, shorts, reaction content from me. I really enjoy doing that. And I get to give video content for you guys without being on a stream for 2 hours. So I'm going to try to do even more and more and more of that as we go. Try to do at least 1, probably 2 or 3 of those a week for the offseason. So that's something to look forward to. Try to provide actionable analysis in a very squeezed format to kind of complement these longer shows. So we get to have both that way. But until next week, I will see you guys later. Peace.
Yeah. Thank you.